Okay. We are live. Apologies everyone for the slightly late start. But yeah, we are here and we're going to be talking about that Nintendo Direct. We're going to be grading it. We're going to be interpreting every little detail, theorizing and speculating. It begins anew, the Direct cycle. So we're going to be doing that. We're going to be talking about Tears of the Kingdom, Metroid Prime, Pikmin, Xenoblade, and more. So yeah, we got a lot to talk about today, but we have a returning guest from a while ago, Lunatunes, who's now doing YouTube. His channel is linked in the description below. We had a little bit of a Metroid Prime discussion during the weekend. I strongly recommend you guys check it out. I think it was pretty enjoyable. I've actually listened to it myself, and I thought we did a pretty good job. But yeah, buddy, thanks for coming on. How you doing?
Doing very good. Thanks for having us. Yeah, that Metroid discussion was great. I was expecting like a 20-30 minute. We talked for 45 to 50, and that was fantastic. Nice. So yeah, great video. Yeah, please go check it out. Awesome conversation, and yeah, very excited to get into the Direct today. Got some good stuff to talk about for sure.
Yeah, and then I got the co-host here, Brandon. He is here as usual. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. Been playing a lot of that Metroid Prime Remastered.
Yeah. I'm working on getting 100%. Sephiroth is saying audio is cutting out. Is that because I keep looking away while I'm talking, or is it because there's something else wrong?
All the audio on my end is fine.
Okay. I mean, everything looks good on my end. With that said, guys, do let me know how everything is looking and sounding before we get into the swing of things here. So, yeah, if I need to up my audio, lower my audio, increase their audio, let me know, so I can balance things out now, right, that we're just getting started. And that way we don't have to, deal with the mess. Hermione Granger, everything's good? Thank you, Hermione. Much appreciated. Alright, checking in here earlier into the chat. D.E. Fox, thank you for modding, buddy. A.B. James, Nate the Hate just released a new Direct discussion vid, and I'm now believing, just like him, with a shadow drop of Prime 1 Remaster now in February, that Prime 4 could drop this holiday. That is an interesting point to bring up.
Definitely go against the rumors that have been coming out that there's not going to be anything big this year besides, or beyond Zelda, I mean.
Well, also that comes down to what people interpret as big, right? I think some people look
at
I
think Metroid Prime 4 by any metric is probably pretty big. It's been such a long wait. It's such a hype release in terms of anticipation. It's definitely up there.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying. There's definitely a lot of hype behind it, within the gaming space. But of course, we look sales wise, Metroid. I hate to call it niche. I don't think it's quite niche, but it's never, blown the doors off either. Yeah. So there are some who definitely wouldn't consider it big. But I'm with you. I think it would generate enough buzz to be considered big, in my opinion. But you also have to think, if Metroid Prime 4 is going to drop this holiday, I would think 2 and 3 would have to come prior. So then we're looking at 4 Metroid Prime games dropped in 1 year. I mean, that would be heaven, but might be a little too enthusiastic, possibly.
Yeah. I'm deciding if I should just jump straight into Metroid Prime talk now or later. We'll come back to it, but I'll say that this situation regarding the shadow drop does absolutely change my speculation. I'm not saying my prediction, but it changes my speculation. There are more angles and considerations now. There's more possibilities that I think have become more likely. So I'll give you this. With the shadow drop, I do agree that a holiday 2023 release does seem more feasible. But it does kind of depend on the angle you look at it from. Because, to Lunatone's point, right? If they are going to release 2 and 3, to squeeze 2 and 3 in between Prime 1 and then Prime 4, that's a lot. But if there isn't going to be a 2 and 3 release, then it becomes a little bit more conceivable, right? They could blow the lid off Prime 4 this June or July and market it for 3 or 4 months, and it comes out October or November or something like that. So there are angles here, right? But we'll come back to this in a bit. This is just one single comment we're reading. We're gonna go through here, let people roll into the chat, roll into the stream. On that note, guys, I see about 50-ish people are watching, 60-ish people are watching. If you could like the stream, that would be super helpful. This will get more people out there, so it'll push out the stream so more people see it. So please like the stream; it'll be super appreciated, guys. Thank you. Let's see here. Leo Aguiar. There's so much to know, but it's a possibility that Prime 4 is Nintendo's big holiday game and can be an early 2024 game. The fact it is. I think it's worth having that conversation again. Totally. Hello there, Perk30. Hello there, Josh Coleman. Perk30, do you think that it'll be as hard to get a Zelda Switch as the collector's edition was?
I mean, the other editions, Animal Crossing edition's pretty easy to get. Like, even though that game sold insane amounts, which maybe because how much it sold, they made a bunch more. But, I got one a year after the game came out or something. So, way after they released it.
I still see Animal Crossing Switches, at my local, Walmarts and Targets. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Two thoughts come to my mind about that is, for one thing, Zelda is such a huge IP and Tears of the Kingdom is such a hype release that Nintendo might increase production of special edition Switches with the intention that, obviously more people are going to be excited and want to buy them. My other thought is we're so late in the generation. Does Nintendo want to risk making too many and there not being, enough buyers, I guess? But it might be one of those things where it sells out in seconds. And I think Nintendo's last report was that they want to sell 20 million more Switches this year or something crazy like that. So if they're trying to hit that mark, then that'd be the way to do it.
I think it's 19 or 20.
It was some crazy number. Dude, we're in the coming up 6th year of the Switch, and you want to sell 20 million? It's nuts.
Apparently, that was a lowered projection from what I hear from what they wanted.
God,
they wanted to hit more.
Yeah. I still haven't taken a closer look at all the financial stuff yet, so I have to go back and analyze it. But with everything just from the direct, there's just been so much going on. But I did hear that they're projecting 18 million for this next fiscal year. Is that right?
18 or 19 or
yeah, which
20.
is
I heard 20. Yeah.
I mean, you could round up. It's comparable. I think the overall narrative has been that while they're still aiming for around the same number, there is a minor sort of trend downwards. And what's interesting about this minor trend downwards is if you look at previous systems, successful systems. So for the best example would be the DS. Once it started to trend downwards, that's when Nintendo announced their next system. That said, back then, the announcement to release windows were far larger, right? So we could already be within that window if it was old Nintendo. But because it's new Nintendo, we might be a year or even less from a new system. We wouldn't know because they would announce it 3 to 6 months in advance. So just some food for thought there. I think there's a lot of potential for what could be going down. Shout out to Nintendo Prime in the chat. I am not predicting Prime 4 for this year yet. But if more evidence presents itself, then we'll see. But there's a lot we got to get into. There's a lot. We're not even. I don't even feel like we're scratching the surface here. All right, just checking through. I'm gonna catch up with the chat real quick, and then we're gonna start with one of our main topics. All right, thank you, Having Hope. Thank you, Sephiroth. Let me know everything looks and sounds okay. To pimp my short shorts, would you want a reboot or a remaster of Epic Mickey?
I played that, so
I didn't play it, but I heard good things back in the day on the Wii. I'll tell you that after Metroid Prime Remastered, I feel like a remaster doesn't sound too bad. So, I honestly, it's not something I would likely buy, regardless of what it is. A reboot would have a better chance of getting me to pick it up, but I'm not sure I'm even the target audience. So, I don't know. I think a remaster probably is a smarter bet with that kind of game, but it really just depends on what they'd want to do with a reboot. If they'd be changing around things dramatically that might cater to a larger audience or, you know, appeal to people, then go for it. But otherwise, I mean, I can't really speak on that. Paco Salvador, Metroid is niche for now.
Is 3 million niche?
Is there a number? Is there a number that we
all
define as niche?
relative, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm
let's
asking the
Google it.
chat. Is 3 million
Well,
plus?
I would.
3 million
like
plus
it's
in a
not.
year?
That's a
I
good
feel like
question.
it's really not. Like if
All right. Here's a
it's not the
dictionary.
highest seller, but it's definitely not the lowest.
I think I just said
Yeah.
a dictionation. A definition. The definition for niche is a niche is a place or position that's particularly appropriate for someone or something, especially due to being very specific and different from others. Doesn't say much. It does not say much. All right, let's put a poll in the chat. I think it's a valid consideration. At what point do we call something niche? How should I phrase this question for a poll here?
I would put like a gauge of like sales, like what's niche? You know, 1 million, 1 million to 3, 3 million to 5.
Yeah,
you know,
start
something
with
like that.
What is still
Like-
niche? Sales numbers.
I would put like equal or lower than 1 million. It's like the lowest.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is still niche? Sales numbers? Less than 1 million.
Less than or equal to.
Less than 3 million.
I would just go to 5.
Fine. Keep it simple. There'll be 3. I'm just gonna yeah. Okay, here we go. I put 110 million. All right. What is still niche sales numbers? 1 million, 5 million, 10 million.
Not like there's. Okay, actually, maybe you should do smaller, like 1 million, 3 million, 5 million.
Oh well.
I don't think
Polls
anybody that thinks 10 million. Oh, you just put it up.
Polls
You just
posted.
were like,
Niche.
Poll is posted.
post. Okay.
If you have a differing opinion or you want to expand on your opinion, feel free to just say in the comments below.
Yeah, because I think we have to remember, you know, Dread sold 3 million in just its first year, so it's still selling. Will it ever hit 4 or 5? We don't really know,
There's
but
nothing reporting on it, so we're not sure if it's like in that evergreen status.
I still haven't bought it, so that's one potential sale.
how
Down the
dare
line.
you? How
I
dare
just-
you?
Well, I'm playing Metroid Prime Remastered. So,
Well, you know, the good
shut
thing
up.
is that
Oh,
when
it's
one
Metroid.
Metroid game comes out, another is likely to be bought, right? Like, it increases that Metroid discussion. So some people who play Prime Remastered, they're going to be like, oh, this is awesome. Are there any other Metroid games on Switch? And there are. So some people will probably pick up Dread right about now.
Quite a few, actually.
There's
Yeah,
about to be all of them once Fusion drops on the online service, but I'm
that
sure
may
we'll talk
help
about
too,
that
yeah.
later.
Yeah, I mean, Fusion, story-wise, makes it, yeah. It makes, Fusion's like literally
not
the
necessarily
best
every
Metroid game
version
to
of
play
all
right
of them.
before Dread, though. Like, for
Mhm.
story reasons, Fusion is the game you play before Dread.
Yeah.
Ruby says hi to the world. Sort of.
Gamer cat. I got my gamer cat right here too. She's chilling.
Cool. Alright, so I'm going to focus on ads and super chats just so I can kind of run through the chat real quick. Then we're going to jump into our main talk. Oh, look at the little beauty. Look at that.
I shouldn't film her while she's bathing. It's not proper.
No, it's alright. As long as my cat doesn't show her butthole.
We've already gotten like 2 flashes.
Damn. Alright, move. Go away. Go. No, don't do that. Alright. Okay. Darth OP. I'm calling it Metroid Prime 2 Echoes Remastered for the Fall Direct and Metroid Prime 3 Corruption Remastered for the next February Direct. Okay. I mean, I'd be super happy with that. We'll get to that though. J.R.R. Tolkien, thoughts on the whole Tears of the Kingdom is just a Breath of the Wild DLC discussion? Well, I actually put out a video.
That's a loaded question.
I put out a video about this very topic like 8 days ago. So not yesterday, but the Sunday prior.
Man, was that long ago?
8 days ago, yeah. Which really is not that long ago, but it feels like a long ago with this news cycle because so much keeps happening. But
yeah.
You know, my take is that video, but the basically is no, Tears of the Kingdom is not just a Breath of the Wild DLC, and obviously objectively it isn't, right? Because it's a full retail title, $70. It's actually more than a typical retail title.
Better be more than DLC.
Yeah,
for that price.
Yeah, but I guess the implication is that when someone asks that question or suggests that, what they're getting at is this going to feel like more of the same? Is it going to feel kind of like, you know, sequelitis basically is maybe a kind of another way of looking at it, right? Where it doesn't feel too fresh and new, and it's for a lot of people maybe not even worth buying it again. And I don't think it's going to be that way. But yeah, no, you go first.
I just think it's easy to make that claim when they're using the same engine, same graphics, and we're going to be exploring much of the same world that we did in the first game. I think like that's the main thing people look at. Is like, it looks just like Breath of the Wild, so what's the difference? But dude, not only in the trailers have they shown us some differences, there's going to be so much that they're not showing us that I'm sure we're all going to discover and explore and be like, okay, yeah, this is definitely more than DLC and even worth the $70 price tag. I'm pretty confident Nintendo's going to blow us away.
I mean, even so, like, a lot of the things that I talked about in my video 8 days ago have already been confirmed basically with this recent trailer that we got. So for example, underground environments, that's been confirmed, and it's not like just little caves. We do see some little caves, but there's like this one area that we see where we see a bokoblin mining with some Lizalfos around, and you see like mushrooms and spores in the air, and it's all dark. You even see stalactites in the background if you look carefully. There's even like some blue souls, like that big scene that's really dark. I heard some people talk about, oh, it might be in the sky. It's not in the sky, buddy. No, that is a straight up massive underground environment, and we saw other caves and areas as well. And if you also take into account the first teaser, which shows a massive underground environment, the implication is that there are massive underground environments in Tears of the Kingdom. So they're not only just expanding to the sky, but underground as well. So, you know, there's a lot there. There's a lot there. We're seeing new weapons, new bosses. We've talked about at length how the visuals in Tears of the Kingdom are actually a significant jump from Breath of the Wild, and as we get more and more footage, it's going to become more and more obvious. But point is, I don't think so at all. It's not really a concern of mine at this point. I'm just excited about it. But of course, I'm also a hardcore Zelda fan, right? So it's easier to excite me than it is your typical gamer. That said, I think that the hype for Tears of the Kingdom is kind of speaking for itself at this point. Of course, that's, you know, not directly tied to sales numbers, so we'll see. And I'll also say this to kind of give some credence to the other side here, even though I feel like most people in this chat won't agree. It's up to Nintendo to convince us that this isn't just more of the same. It's up to them to make us feel like it's something fresh, new, and exciting. And, you know, stop trying to eat my cord, cat. Stealing the show as usual. But anyways, back to what I was trying to say, like, yeah, it's up to them, and I do think they have been very quiet and secretive about this game. Even with this recent trailer, yes, it's a lot of information compared to what we've gotten, but only compared to what we've gotten. It was still just a 2-minute trailer.
Yeah.
A great trailer.
We keep seeing a lot of the things out of context.
Yeah. Yeah, so we still have a lot to learn about this game. And I think as we continue on within these next 3 months, more people will learn about this game, and we'll see with more convincing, compelling evidence that it's not just DLC. But if you're asking my personal opinion, not even close. Like, it's a $70 game. This is gonna be the biggest, most content-rich Nintendo game maybe we've ever seen. So I'm not really concerned at all. I'm just incredibly hyped. I don't know if you guys want to add any more to that, but yeah.
I mean, I could talk about Tears of the Kingdom for quite a while, but I'm sure we'll get to it later. So
we
I'll-
will.
Right.
We will.
That's
I'll
the
hold-
issue.
What
hold my
tends
water.
what tends to happen in the podcast is that when we get to the chat, like each chat question becomes a topic, and we're like, all right,
Yeah.
an hour into the show, okay, time to start one of our actual planned topics. Then we go back to the chat, and then it's like 2.5 hours in, and we still have 3 topics left. But don't worry, we'll be good.
The only thing I have to say is the only worry I really have for Tears of the Kingdom is that a lot of the new content and new areas are going to look significantly better than the touched up original Breath of the Wild areas, because that's what we see in the trailers. Like the sky areas look significantly better than all the stuff on the ground that we've seen. And like the new stuff they have, like you can see that's like bolted on sometimes, looks sometimes like oddly better than the stuff around it. I don't know if it's just because they're hiding stuff, because I mean they keep showing more and more stuff on the map the more trailers they show, so maybe they just actually are just Breath of the Wild assets in there as like placeholders. I don't know, but it to me there's just like a significant like difference between the new content and like the revamped old content in terms of how it looks.
I've not looked closely enough to like notice distinctions between like assets or anything like that. I'm gonna keep my eye out on that. Was it like in the most recent trailer you could see stuff like that?
There's all the trailers except I would say the 2019 trailer. I mean, even that trailer, like all of it all the way to like the final image where you can see the castle rising, that all looks like significantly better than Breath of the Wild. Like it looks really good. And then you can see that like overview shot, which looks basically the same, with like maybe some hints of like better draw distance or something. That's about it. So like a lot of the core Breath of the Wild stuff just looks like better draw distance of similar looking assets, whereas a lot of the new areas look like they have like just better assets in general. Like all the new stuff they're making just looks better.
I think the game's very pretty. Man, damn it! I want to get through the chat. It's just like, oh, but this would be a great time to bring up Prime Remastered and how that game might be the most visually impressive game on Switch. Like that's all. Oh man. See, they're just. All right, I'm gonna finish with the chat. I think Tears of the Kingdom is really pretty. I understand Brandon's point though that some of the areas that are from Breath of the Wild maybe don't look as good, but we'll come back to this. Just want to get through the chat. Also, Nintendo Prime, thank you, buddy. Because like I said, I haven't looked into the number situation yet, right? But Nintendo Prime is saying, just to correct, Nintendo's provided 0 projections for fiscal year 22 to 2023. They downed their current year projection from 19 to 18 million, ending March 31st, 2022. So the end of next month. Nintendo Prime also says,
crazy.
so no, Nintendo has not talked about sales at all for next fiscal year, other than admitting they are going to struggle to seal Switches in year 7. Interesting.
I did hear that, yeah. I just didn't remember if it was somebody speculating or if it was something Nintendo said.
There we go. Sushi, hey Andres, do you think the trailer from 2019 still holds up to this day? There's something I discussed in your Discord about Link having a glove in one scene and not in the other when reaching Zelda. A glove. Okay, well I haven't seen that on the Discord. But if you watched my video from yesterday where I'm talking about the opening sequence in Tears of the Kingdom, that first teaser trailer we got back in 2019. Every time we get an update on Tears of the Kingdom, we get kind of like another little piece to that puzzle to try and better understand what happens there. And I'm presuming that's the beginning of the game. However, with the most recent footage, we have seen evidence that some elements appear to have changed from that initial teaser trailer, which makes sense because that was back in 2019. This is already 2023. So some elements are going to change. And from what I've seen, there's this one frame that shows a couple frames where Link is trying to grab Zelda's hand, right? And you see that, yeah, he still has kind of like his glove on, right? So maybe that's what you mean by glove. But in the shot we saw in the trailer, Link is dueling the malice that's just erupting from Ganondorf, and his arm and shoulder totally burned up and ruined, and it shows that shot where he's trying to grab Zelda again. So either A, Zelda falls more than once, and there's one time where Link is okay and grabs her hand. There's another where he's totally wrecked and still tries to grab her hand. I think most likely It's just the one time in the opening like sequence, and they just kind of change things around a little bit with this more up-to-date footage of the game. But yes, I do think things have changed. All right, so I got a super chat from Taker610. Thank you very much for the super chat, Taker. Taker says, obviously most of us here already own a Switch, so the Zelda OLED will be your second Switch, and I think Nintendo's really counting on the double dip.
Dude, Nintendo counts on the double, the triple, quadruple dip. I mean, it's a family system. If you are an adult and you got like 3 kids, every kid needs a Switch Lite. Daddy's got to have his Switch OLED and his backup, special edition Switch in the corner. Dude, they're selling so many Switches per household. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, sorry, I was letting out Ruby. She's being a nuisance. Yeah, but it is crazy how many Switches Nintendo has been selling per household. And at some point you're going to see them talking about, well, some people need more than one Switch, like per person, not even per household, per person. Oh, well, maybe you want to keep one Switch docked all the time, right? Like,
exactly. I know people who are like, yeah, I got my dock Switch downstairs, my dock Switch upstairs, and I got my Switch Lite in my backpack. I'm like, you have a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've got one Switch and I take it everywhere with me.
I use it as a Switch. If I want to, sometimes I switch to portable mode by pulling it out. If I want to dock it, I dock it. I do think there's definitely a lot of reason to have multiple docks, though. I do like having multiple docks. Yeah, that is nice.
For sure.
Yeah.
For one Switch, though.
For one single Switch. Correct. But to each their own. If you want multiple Switches, I'm not going to stop you.
I mean, unless the games have cloud saves, it'd be really kind of frustrating with the way the Switch works.
Yeah.
You can't have, saves on both.
DE Fox
What are you going to do?
has added me and is saying Prime Remastered is selling out at retail outlets. It better be. Watch Prime Remastered, break the previous Metroid record with Dread. That would bode really well for Prime 4. Bode really well. All right. Okay, cool. So we're about ready to start our first topic. I'm not gonna close out the poll, even though I realize now that I there's a typo. Please forgive me. I understand there's a typo. I just messed up. So I said, what is still niche sales number? And the poll currently reads 1 million at 73%, 5 million at 21%, and 10 million at 5%. So
5% of you are, I don't want to say this, but maybe a little dumb. I'm sorry.
I don't really agree with that, Brandon.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
That's kind of a wild thing to say, though. To 10 million is niche. Anything up until 10 million.
Right, well, maybe beyond...
gaming wasn't even that popular until recently. Games didn't sell, 10 million plus all the time till, not even that long ago. I mean, it's all relative, but...
I do think a lot of people have, a skewed idea of, what is good sales. When you see something like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe selling, was it, 40 million now?
Yeah.
And
no,
then,
it's I think it eclipsed 50.
50 million.
Crazy.
And Animal Crossing is approaching 40, and then
Yeah.
Zelda is a 20 million, and Mario's a 20 million. I think so many people see that and they're like, oh, that must be pretty standard for a lot of games, and it's not. That's as crazy as it seems, selling 50 million copies. I'd say most games are lucky to sell 2 to 4 million. They're probably throwing a party if they sell 3 or 4 million. You know what I'm saying?
So the best-selling game on Switch currently, as of December 31st, apparently, I mean, this is not a debate, but shouldn't be a surprise. It is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at 52 million. Animal Crossing New Horizons is at 41.59 million.
Okay, yeah, so 50-40.
Jesus.
Number 3 is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate at 30.44. And then coming in and fourth is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild at 29 million. However, it should be noted, I think there's 1 to 2 million Wii U owners who bought Breath of the Wild as well. So there you go. Sword and Shield is at 25.68 million. Super Mario Odyssey is at 25. Scarlet Violet's at 20. So there's 7 games that are above 20 on Switch. But Switch is seeing like record sales numbers for Nintendo games. Like Nintendo's never seen software sales this great before, ever. And then in terms of games that are over 10, there are currently 17 games that are over 10 million. So, you know, even Mario Party Superstars is only at 9.38. Granted, limited release.
5% of you guys said that
that's
every
Mario Party.
game is niche except those 17 games.
3D All Stars, I'm sorry, is a limited release. Mario Party Superstars is still available. Anyway, I see we have a new member to Legends Plus. It is Brian Doe. Thank you for joining as a member, Brian Doe. It's super appreciated. I'll just, bring this up to people. If you are a member, one, you get credited in all videos. If you have any suggestions for topics or looking for tips or anything on videos or games, you have access to those things. And, sometimes if someone suggests a topic, it's a dedicated topic for a podcast or even becomes its own video. So keep that in mind as well. And if you would like to join in for a call-in segment, that is also something for members and patrons. So something to keep in mind. Welcome, Brian Doe. Thank you very much for joining. But with that, let's now jump into our first dedicated topic. Not that I have too many dedicated topics, there's just really so much to kind of cover here, and I think this first topic is gonna cover a lot. But it's grading that Nintendo Direct that I thought was pretty good. Now, if you guys saw my video shortly after the Direct, I already said my grade, so I'll save my opinions for a little bit later into the stream. I first want to kind of hear what you guys think. So, Lunatunes, you first. Grade that Nintendo Direct.
It's a tale of two stories here, and I think a lot of people are gonna have the same opinion. I feel like, because I feel like I've seen it online. The first 20 to 25 minutes of that Direct, maybe the first half, was pretty mid, in my opinion. It was I had it on. I really wasn't even paying that much attention. I'd look up, I'd see what game they were talking about, and I'd go back to doing whatever I was doing. Look up, go back to what I was doing. The first half of that Direct, I give it for me personally, and this is going to vary depending on what games you enjoy. For me personally, I don't know, a 4. I really just wasn't that invested at all. And then Kirby happened. Kirby was cool. I was like, all right, that's nice. And then Game Boy Advance, then Metroid, then Zelda, and I was losing my freaking mind the second half of that Direct. The second half or quarter, whatever that was, I don't know at the time, was some of the best stretch of Direct content that I've ever seen. So it's hard to put a rating on it because it's a tale of two stories. If I'd averaged it out, I don't know, 7.5, 8 for me, all together in total. Yeah.
Okay. So if we were to give that a grade, we'd say it's a B, a C plus.
We're doing letter grades.
We don't have to. We don't have
plus.
to. A B plus. Okay.
B plus. B
okay.
plus.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we translate to grades. You would. Okay. Cool. All right. And so I take it. The Game Boy stuff, the Metroid stuff, Zelda. Those were the standouts for you. How did you feel? So, but I guess you didn't like the first half. Are you not a big Pikmin fan?
I'm not. No.
Okay.
I've never played a full Pikmin game. I know how they work. I know the mechanics. I've played like several of the demos, but I don't know. Just never really caught me.
I got
I've never played all the way through a game of like any of them. I've played like halfway through Pikmin 3, but that's it. And then I've watched playthroughs of 1 and 2, so I know what they're about. But I'm excited for it still, though.
I'll say the Pikmin 4 announcement got me excited for other people because I know that's like a super long awaited game. So I got kind of like secondhand happiness for the fans of Pikmin.
Yeah.
So when I saw Pikmin 4 starting off, I was kind of like, oh, yeah, that's cool. And then I just didn't. Then I just zoned out. Like,
so
all right, good for everybody else who likes Pikmin.
It didn't do anything to like pique your excitement. You're like, oh, maybe I'll think about this.
No, yeah, I was like, there's some Pikmin fans out there that are having a great time right now, and I am happy for you. For me, I'm just gonna wait for the next trailer.
Okay, cool. I got some thoughts, and then I kind of want to take this conversation in a few directions, but I first think I should give Brandon an opportunity to give a grade before you just take this in a wild direction. So Brandon, how did you feel about the direct? Like, if you were to give this a grade value, what would you say and why?
I mean, I'm not completely like against what you were saying there earlier about Looney Tunes, but I think there were a few more announcements that piqued my interest. Like, I liked Pikmin 4, and I liked the last little bit of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 when we saw the Wave 4, the expansion pass with them. I think it's Wave 4, whatever the final volume was.
Yes.
So, and then we saw, like, I'm just looking through a list here. Like, Splatoon, we saw a little bit of a hint of the paid DLC, although Wave 1 is just kind of like, whatever.
I'm still very...
So there were
yeah,
a few
that's a
things
question
in the
mark
first
for me,
half that
too.
I was excited for, but there was also a lot of games that I thought looked cool, but I knew that I was probably not going to look into them more. Maybe Deca Police. That might be something interesting. Kind of reminds me of Astral Chain a bit. It's like an anime police kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the first half was not a ton of bangers, but then the second half really came through with a pretty good amount of stuff. I wasn't really big on Kirby, but I liked the Game Boy Advance stuff, and Metroid was just huge. I think Metroid honestly was the biggest one because I was not super happy with these Zelda trailers. Kind of disappointed. But Metroid Prime, the fact it was released the same day, $40, and an insane graphical upgrade, that blew me away. That was really great. And then we got a little bit of goodies like Fantasy Life I was super excited about. Though I'm curious if that's going to be like as good as the 3DS original, or if it's going to be more like simplified. I'm not sure. But the Zelda trailer I was excited for, but not blown away by. So overall, I think like high B or low A overall.
Okay.
Oh, you know, one game I did leave out was Fashion Dreamer. Fashion Dreamer looks amazing.
Literally the best game
less
shown
specific.
in that presentation. Like,
Dude,
of every
all
single
gameplay,
game, man, I couldn't.
no CGI, none of that.
It was perfect.
Straight gameplay all the way through.
Yeah, I couldn't handle it. It was just too much for me. I'm actually being the exact opposite. I actually thought every game in the Direct was kind of cool except for that fashion one. So that's just because I give no flips about the fashion stuff. I'm sure there are some people like, oh, this looks really cool. And for you, more power to you. I am happy for you. But it was hard sitting through that however long it was. Everything else,
It was
though...
kind of a long trailer. It felt like.
Yeah. I would have to measure it, but, you know, it was alright. So, I see we have about 100-ish people watching. That's amazing. Thank you guys for being here. If you could like the stream, that would be super appreciated. See... We got 44 likes and 105 people watching, so let's try to get to 100 likes tonight. That would be wonderful and be super helpful for the stream, guys. So please and thank you. But so I guess I'll kind of go over how I feel about the Direct. And you know, I do think, you know, I heard some things you guys both said, and I was like, how dare they have a different opinion than me? How dare they? But then at the same time, I heard what you guys said for the grade, and you were like, oh, you said a B+, Looney Tunes, and Brandon was like, oh, you B-, A. Like, you guys are, you know, positive overall, right? So
yeah.
I feel like I can't truly fault you guys for your opinions. That all said, I would put this as a solid A. I think this is the ideal February Nintendo Direct. And I do hear some people, not literally, figuratively, but I hear some people, there are some criticisms that I think are fair that we'll get to. But I think the main objective of a Direct is to highlight and market what's to come in the foreseeable future, the next 4 months. Give us the content we need until they're ready for their next Direct. And that's exactly what they did. Notice how we don't know about Squad After July. We don't know about Squad After July, but between now and July, or even like, you know, last week, because we got a hot release last week, right, with Metroid Prime Remastered.
Yeah.
Like, just think, not even, let's you include January. You include January to July. Thanks to this Direct, Nintendo has announced a solid amount of quality content between January and July that I would say are... It's a pretty darn strong lineup, right? Like, just talking about first-party Nintendo games, we got Fire Emblem Engage in January, Metroid Prime Remastered, and Kirby's Return to Dream Land Deluxe in February, which we didn't see the Metroid thing coming that soon. We thought it would come, but not that soon. Then
that's bang bang. Kirby Metroid, bang bang. Like right
yeah,
on time.
crazy. March looks like we're going to see a little bit of a down month, but it's still, we got Bayonetta Origins, which maybe shouldn't be slept on. The Mario Kart Wave 4 DLC is looming, so it could come out around then, right? And then in April, we did get confirmation, as we talked about for like a long time, that Advance Wars 1 2 Reboot Camp is coming out in April. So that's finally coming out. And then May is Tears of the Kingdom. That, you know, like, you could scrap everything else. The fact that Tears of the Kingdom is coming, like, that's momentous. I didn't see anything major from Nintendo announced for June that I can think of. And I'm just talking about first-party stuff, right? But then in July, we're getting Pikmin 4, which it was the only other game after Tears of the Kingdom we didn't know about that was slated for this year. And it's not coming out late into the year for the holiday second half. It's coming out July. So, because I personally look at Directs as something that's only going to give us information for what they said it's going to be about, for, you know, basically like the first half or what have you, I was actually incredibly impressed with what they did. And if you watch my prediction videos, pretty much everything I was sort of wanting, expecting, happened. Now, I'm not saying I was 100%. I wasn't 100%, but I was very close, right? Like, I was thinking, I wasn't expecting anything Mario because of the Mario movie. I felt they would focus on the Mario movie, and that is proven to be true. You know, F-Zero hasn't been announced yet, but for those doubters, y'all, I know you doubters exist. A lot of you were telling me I was crazy about Metroid Prime Remastered. I never gave up hope, and here it is. It existed the entire time it existed. So, what does that tell you? It tells you that the sources that we say are reliable, well, they're right with this one, and they've been right in the past as well. So, point is, if they said that Pikmin 3 Deluxe was going to come, and it came, they said that 3D All-Stars was going to come, and it came, if they said that Metroid Dread was going to come, and it came, if they said a Prime Remaster was going to come, and it came, then, if they're saying F-Zero is going to come, then it's going to come. So, you know, I don't doubt it. I just think it's probably more of a second half thing. Anyways. Yeah,
About the timing, for sure. You can never... I trust that these things are at least being thought of, but I doubt the timing heavily all the time for leaks.
Yeah, timing's tough. I mean, Metroid Prime Remastered, that was just... I think it threw us all for a loop, right? Like, that was just insane how they handled it. And that's another reason why I ranked this Direct as an A. Because I didn't need them to announce Prime Remastered so soon. But the fact that they fit in such a megaton out of nowhere was crazy. Like, I've been yearning to play Metroid Prime Remastered for a long time. And they gave it to us. And not only did they give it to us at a cheaper price than we expected, sooner than we expected, but it was also better than we expected. I don't think anyone expected Prime Remastered to look this good. We talked about how it was going to be a big boy remaster. I thought it was going to look substantially better, but I wasn't sure it would be the best looking game on Switch. It is quite possibly the best looking, most impressive game on Switch. I don't know if you guys agree with that statement, but I think it's...
Well,
what's
you
better?
know, I have still not played it. I am holding out for my physical copy. I have not bitten to the digital. I'm trying not to double dip.
Buy it twice.
It's been torturous, but I've got other games I got to play right now, like that I've already committed to. So I'm like, okay, it's no big deal.
Yeah, still haven't finished Fire
I
Emblem.
bide my time.
To buy it.
Yeah.
But God, it's been hard. It's been really tough. But I got my physical copies pre-ordered, picking it up immediately, and I'm gonna.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. It's gonna be amazing, man. I'm working on a 100% run right now, and then once I beat it, all right, now hard mode. Let's do a 100% hard mode run. It's just such a good
Based
game.
on the footage I've seen, it does look like possibly, yeah, as you said, like the best looking game on Switch for sure.
So on Friday, Brian helped me out with this a bit. We put together like a little graphics comparison of Prime Remastered side by side with this Unreal Engine 4 fan-made video from a few years back. And side by side, we were like, you know, during editing, Brandon actually like helped me out, like with watching as I was editing, and several times they're like, "Oh, which one's which?" Like, obviously, like when you look at them, yes, you can tell which one it is. But if you're like going back and forth, sometimes you have to have a quick double take. You're like, whoa, which one is which? Like, Prime Remastered looks that
The
good.
assets are actually very close in quality to the Unreal Engine 4 assets. There's like some like shader differences. Is mostly how I usually identify the Unreal Engine 4 version.
Yeah.
Because the Unreal Engine 4 is very wet looking. But yeah, in terms of like the look, I mean, I think we both agreed that in a lot of ways, Metroid Prime Remastered just looked artistically better.
Yeah. Prime Remastered, I think like you can tell that it was created with craft and care, which is something that we've actually have come to expect from Retro Studios until recent times because they've been on hiatus. But this is actually another great thing about this that I don't think as many people are talking about, is that with the release of Prime Remastered, we finally got a new Retro Studios release. Since 2014, I mean, you can count Tropical Freeze, I guess, because they gave us Funky Kong. They added Funky Kong into Tropical Freeze in 2018. But beyond adding that,
probably the biggest one we got.
They didn't do anything in Tropical Freeze. They literally just put in one extra character, like, you know.
Tropical Freeze was the best remaster prior to Metroid Prime Remaster. No, so you said Retro Studios, their release is far and few between, but almost everything they make is such good quality. Is Retro like the most trusted studio right now, like under Nintendo? Because they put out some of the best quality games. I know they take forever, and sometimes we're like, where are you at? But when the game does drop, they're always good.
I'm looking for my hype cap.
Yeah, I have a feeling that they have
Where's
canned
my
a lot of
hype cap?
games that did not live up to their expectations.
I can't find a hype cap, so I'm gonna tie a
belt. Yeah, a lot of people saying Monolith, they're also a great studio for sure.
Belt around my head. I'm just kidding. I'm not.
I mean, Monolith helps with so many other games too.
All right, let's.
I'll give shout out to Monolith. They also make some great freaking games, and they help with all the Zelda games too. So Monolith is definitely fantastic.
Retro Studios has not given us a brand new game since 2014. Even with this remaster, still technically in a brand new game. It's using the initial code from... It's a remaster. It's maybe the best remaster I've ever seen, but it is still a remaster. However you choose to define it, it's not a brand new game. That said, what they've accomplished with Retro Studios, it does remind me of Nintendo of old. Now, Retro Studios is not like typical, you know, Kyoto Nintendo. Like it's not that, right? But Retro Studios is still Nintendo. It's 100% Nintendo, and they are true wizards, right? Like there are sometimes we see some in-house Nintendo games, and we are just absolutely floored by what they were able to accomplish. It's not always like gameplay, it's sometimes graphics. Like even though the Switch is such a weak system in comparison to the rest of the market, you look at Prime Remastered and you're like, how is this even possible? I don't think there's any game on the only games that I think you could argue compare to Prime Remaster in terms of overall impressiveness is Breath of the Wild and maybe Tears of the Kingdom that'll follow, right? And let me explain why. Prime Remastered looks way better than Breath of the Wild, but the difference is Breath of the Wild has far more scope. It's a far more massive environment, and there's crazy physics systems involved as well, right? It's not just the visuals, it's all the physics involved that are accomplishing more complicated things than we've seen in any prior Nintendo game, right? So there's crazy stuff happening in Breath of the Wild, and it's extremely impressive. But in terms of like what I see visually, what my brain's like, whoa, that looks amazing, Metroid Prime Remastered, I think, kind of stands above them all. Do I think it looks better than Astral Chain? Yes. Do I think it looks better than Monster Hunter Rise? Yes. Do I think it looks better than Luigi's Mansion 3? That one, we can have a little bit more debate.
That one is debatable for me.
There's some debate
that's the
there.
only other one.
Yeah, but but with Luigi's Mansion 3, the environments are smaller than Metroid Prime Remastered. Granted, the environments you can interact with more. There's more interactivity within those environments, and they're very dense with stuff going on. But they are fairly small environments. So the scope of Luigi's Mansion 3 is less than Prime Remastered, right? So that's kind of another consideration.
There's very few large environments in Metroid Prime. It's very small corridors mostly.
Yeah.
Tight corridors.
This is relevant. Brian Doe provided a super chat. Thank you very much, Brian, for the super chat. Brian says, used assets from the canceled Prime 4 remaster. We have no idea of that. And something to note.
Prime 4 remaster? Is that what you just said?
Canceled Prime 4 remaster.
Oh.
That's a funny idea, but yeah, we have no way of knowing.
Yeah, we have no way of knowing that. But even, I mean, it's not just the assets, it's getting it to run. The game's at a locked 60 frames per second. It's 900p normally in docked and 612 in handheld mode. And I played in handheld mode, it still looks great. And here's another thing, Brand, I know it's something you would talk about a lot, right? How a lot of Nintendo games, especially earlier in the Switch cycle, they don't really use anti-aliasing, right? You play Prime Remaster, and while it's 900p and 612p in handheld mode, like, it just look like I don't have any issues with the resolution. Like, it looks very clean, very crisp, very sharp. I think
there's
something
like some minor aliasing I can see here and there, but overall it's definitely not a raw image.
You have to be like really searching for little inadequacies to find them.
Most Nintendo games, it's like you turn the camera and it's just Shimmer City.
Yeah. And you know, since we're speaking on Retro Studios, I do think Monolith Soft, as you guys brought up, is worth bringing up too, because they've continually done some crazy things with their games. Like, Nintendo uses them when it comes to making like large environments, and you look at some of the graphic techniques they've used in Xenoblade.
They've been using upscaling methods and shit. Like,
as far as open world games, dude, Xenoblade is some of the best open world looking games. Like, just in general, like giant monsters floating about, the fog effects and the clouds in the distance, the vistas you see are insane. I still look back at like Xenoblade Chronicle X like trailers and stuff. I'm like, God dang, that is
still looks good.
It's on a Wii U.
Still looks good.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah, X looks pretty good. I do think 3 looks like substantially better, but X is still impressive for what they did in the Wii U.
Yeah. I guess that we're just kind of making this sort of like I do want to get to Xenoblade. But I guess since we've been kind of going in on Metroid here, let's continue diving into the Metroid stuff. We'll talk about all the non-Zelda stuff, and then we'll jump to Zelda. Is that fair? That feels like a good order? And then we'll go back and forth to the chat throughout. So if you want to ask topic related things, that's fine, but we will come back to the main topics. So, there's... Anyways, I brought up, just how spectacular the engine was, and I brought up Monolith Soft, because something else that kind of excited me about this Direct is that it sort of renewed this kind of thought process in my mind that internal Nintendo makes the best stuff. And I think it's something that we've kind of maybe been missing out on the last few years, because as I've brought up, Nintendo hasn't had as many internal projects come out the last couple of years. They've had games, but they've relied on a lot of partnerships and outsourcing, right? Like, for example, look at last year, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. That's a Game Freak thing, okay? Everyone's saying, oh, but Pokemon. Game Freak is not Nintendo. Yes, Nintendo owns Pokemon, but only like Pokemon isn't. It's a weird kind of relationship.
They have a majority share.
Yeah, but there's Creatures Inc. There's Pokemon Company. Game Freak is a developer for the mainline games, not the spin-offs. So you look at things like Pokken Tournament and New Pokemon Snap, which look amazing, made by Bandai Namco. The mainline Pokemon games always have bigger issues. They're not internal Nintendo teams. Internal Nintendo teams make just like some of the most impressive things I've ever seen, like Xenoblade Chronicles 3, right? Take a look at Tears of the Kingdom. Like, there's some impressive things going on there for Switch standards, right? This all with the assumption this is running on really dated handheld hardware,
Wait.
mobile technology.
Pikmin
And
4 looks really good.
I agree. It looks.
I think
it
there are
looks
some
amazing.
areas that look better than others. It's odd. Like most of the screen, like the most of the footage we've seen has like really nice textures and a lot of detailed assets and look great. But there's some that oddly have like lower resolution textures than the rest of the footage. So I'm not sure what's up with that. I don't know if it's just because the game's taken so long to make that there's like some stuff left over from late in development. I don't know. But mostly that game looks so fantastic. Resembles almost like an Unreal Engine 4 game. Like it's semi photorealistic at times.
Let me address something in the chat. Brandon, you may want to jump in on this. You too, Looney Tunes. All respect, but I'm just gonna say I disagree. Giancarlo says Retro Studios will be unable to make Metroid Prime 4 run at 60 frames per second on Nintendo Switch. So,
I mean, you can make any game run at 60 frames per second on the Switch if that's the target you're going for during development.
yeah, and I think, people. First of all, if Metroid Prime 4 looked like Prime Remaster, I'd be okay with that. Like Prime Remaster it looks amazing. Like if you want to just take literally the same exact version of the engine they made for Prime Remaster, just build Prime 4 without doing anything beyond that, without increasing the scope or anything, like just make more, basically just more of that, right? Like DLC, if you want to call it that. Like that will be fine because visually it's the most impressive game on Switch. So they don't even need to push it any harder than it already has. I will say there is one little difference that I hope we see on Prime 4 for Switch, and that is the lighting effects from the gun. That is one thing I've noticed. I legit have one criticism for Prime Remaster, and it's just that the light doesn't get bounced off from the arm cannon shots anymore. And I do think it makes a difference. It's a subtle difference, but it's a difference. That's literally the only thing that I have an issue with the Prime Remaster. Everything else is amazing. Point is though, they have this. Retro Studios has this engine. It's an engine they've been building off of for years, since 2002 apparently, and where it's at now is probably even more impressive than what they had it at when they started building Prime Remaster. That's going to be even better for Prime 4 on the Switch. If what Prime Remaster does, to me, what it tells us is that when Metroid Prime 4 comes out, it's going to impress. It's going to be an impressive game, not just for the next hardware, for the current hardware. I think what it should do is it should make people rest easy that when Metroid Prime 4 comes, it's not going to be this blurry, hiccupy mess on Switch that barely runs because they made it for Switch 2. No, it's going to probably play as beautifully well as Prime Remaster does. And if they want to do anything beyond that, then, Switch 2, sure, but it will still be a 60 frame per second game. That is the Metroid standard. They're not going to go back on that for the Switch version of Prime 4, which, by the way, regardless of, if it's a cross-gen title or not, they need to make sure the Switch version is impressive because that's where most people are going to play this game from.
Yeah.
So.
And we just finished hyping up Retro Studios so hard. They've not shown us any reason to believe otherwise, that they wouldn't be able to get Prime 4 running at 60, looking at least as good as Prime 1 Remaster. I was talking to Andre about this last week. I think a lot of us saw Prime 1 Remaster and were like, oh man, like this is probably what Prime 4 is going to look like or could look like. But as Andre pointed out, they've been working on this engine since, they started Prime 1 Remaster. So at this point, the engine is probably even more refined, more powerful, and maybe a reason that Nintendo decided to take the initial Prime 4 away from Bandai Namco. We think Bandai Namco, right? Take away from Bandai Namco and give it back to Retro because Retro showed them, hey, look what we're doing with this Prime Remaster, and Nintendo was like, yo, that's nice. We want that for Prime 4. So now what we're seeing, the visuals and performance we're seeing on Prime 1 Remaster, in my mind, that's the floor. By the time Prime 4 comes out, it's at least going to look as good as Prime 1 Remaster, probably better, while still being locked at 60 frames per second. And I think you're absolutely right. 60 frames, like that is what they're committing to with the Prime series. They're not gonna backtrack on that.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the whole transition thing, because I think that's another point that strongly supports what we're saying here. The fact that Nintendo bothered to restart development is because they have such a care for the quality of this series. The series has a pedigree, a history of masterpiece, and Prime Remaster showcases that. So, you know, they saw what they could do with it, and like, hey, listen, we need Prime 4 to be another masterpiece. Make it that. You have the engine to do it. So I think that has a lot to do with it. And I feel like whoever they were using, the rumor is Bandai Namco, I believe it was, but whoever it was that was working on it, what that would have been, maybe to your point, is kind of like what might have ended up being like a 30 FPS Switch game. Like that studio, whoever they were outsourcing it to back then, would have been the kind of studio that would have been like, hey, listen, Prime 4, we get what you want, but we're going to have to do it at 30 frames per second. Like, they would have made concessions like that. They would have had a different standard than what Retro Studios has set for the Prime games. So, Nintendo, whatever it was that we have not seen, they moved away from that. And they're like, nah, we need to make this an internal Nintendo project. We're going to make sure this is done right. It's going to be a masterpiece. So, they gave it to Retro Studios, which people have doubted. And that's a whole other fantastic point about this situation. This remaster goes to show you that Retro Studios has still got it. Like, whatever it is being done there, it still makes masterpiece level content.
The longevity is impressive because the studio, the team that's at Retro right now is not the same team who worked on the original Prime 1, right?
Right.
It's a whole new studio essentially, and they're still making like quality over this long period of time. That's very impressive.
Yeah. Now it'd be nice if they started coming out with some games with regularity, you know.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
But hopefully this is just the beginning, right? Maybe that, you know, they have this new proprietary engine. Well, it's new, but it's also the same. Like, it's just been kind of iterated upon supposedly. But with where it's at right now, maybe they can build off of this and have more continual, consistent releases. Like, it doesn't just have to be Metroid. They can maybe make a Star Fox game next, right? Or go back to Donkey Kong or something else. Maybe Wave Race. Like, there's tons of things they can go back to. That would be amazing. But let's come back to something we talked about related to Metroid, and then we'll finish off the Metroid stuff. Unless there's anything else you guys want to add in relation to this whole engine situation. Okay.
Well, I wanted to say, like, I think the graphical quality will be more or less similar. I think the difference will be that the scope of Prime 4 will be more impressive, because there's a lot of things in Prime that are like, there's very small corridors because you had to like load rooms in a very particular way in the GameCube, but you can only like load 1 or 2 rooms at a time and things like that. So you have small closed off areas. Whereas I think Prime 4 could open it up a lot more and show off more impressive vistas and just do a lot more with the Switch hardware. Whereas this is a lot more limited. Also, other things like a lot of the animations and different things in the Prime Remaster are pretty much the exact same as they were in Prime, which are not to say that they're bad, but they're just very of the time. They're kind of stiff and not that impressive. And like, there's an area that when you go to Phendrana Drifts, there's a part where like Ridley flies overhead, and in the GameCube version, it kind of looks like cool at the time. But in the remastered, it just looks like a model that's being moved across the screen. It's very like out of place with how good the rest of the graphics look. So I think in those kind of ways, we're gonna be a lot more impressed.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to bring up. I didn't notice how big the shadow was, which I actually thought was really cool. But, you know, kind of going back to the point I brought up earlier about the arm cannon lighting thing, right? There are some subtle little things. But let's point out, the remaster wasn't entirely done by Retro Studios. They outsourced some of it too. So it may have been the case that because they wanted Retro Studios to work specifically on Metroid Prime 4, that they didn't finish up development entirely on their own. You know, they outsourced it. Like, I think what Iron Studio helped out and a few other studios. So with that in mind, right, like Retro Studios is probably all hands on deck, Metroid Prime 4, you know, and so like I do feel like there's going to be a little bit more attention to detail there for little things like that that will be even better with the next game. Yeah, Nintendo's just saying Iron Galaxy. I call them Iron Studio, but what is the name of the studio? Metroid Prime Remastered.
Iron Galaxy, I believe.
Yeah, I call them Iron Studio. Iron Galaxy Studio.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. There was a few different companies that helped out, but anyways, what I really want to kind of focus on here, though, what to move on to, is just kind of like it's going back to a question we got earlier in the discussion about what this shadow drop may mean for Nintendo's kind of plan with Metroid, and we talked about it during your discussion over the weekend a little bit, but like, and Brandon, you know, kind of curious on your take on this, and then Looney Tunes, feel free to expand on it too. But like with this shadow drop, like, does this change your opinion of how Nintendo's going to go about things? Because like, seeing this Prime Remastered engine, I gotta tell you, I would love to see 2 and 3 redone with the same engine. I don't expect that because that's not what the rumor suggested, but you know, I would love to see it, or at least have them enhanced somewhat and bring those over as well, like, and quickly. Also $40 releases if they're just to the same quality level, or you know, put them together or had them just cheaper as $30 releases, and maybe shadow drop one every direct or within the next year, and then they're all kind of meant to kind of hype up Prime 4. It's just, I guess what kind of excites me here is just the fact that the shadow dropped it, like that just kind of changed everything, right? Like the timeline changes everything, because I thought we were waiting until the second half of the year to get Prime Remaster, but they're like, no, right, it's a February game. So it opens up the door for a lot. It does also open up the door for potentially our Prime 4 release, potentially. Do I expect it? Not yet. But, you know, I'm now like, oh, maybe it can come out sooner than I thought. Also, shout outs to Kaylee for the $5 super chat. Thank you very much. It's super appreciated. But yeah, I don't know. My perspective is I don't know what's gonna happen. That's what I'm really getting at. I don't know what's gonna happen. We have entered territory that's like very hard to, like, how is Nintendo gonna do this? Are they gonna reveal Prime 4 in June? Are they gonna show it off? Right? Or are they gonna give us 2 and 3? Are they not? Like, there's a lot of questions here. So I'm just kind of curious, like, what are you guys kind of feeling right now? What direction you think they're going in with these different Metroid games?
I was not expecting 2 and 3, to be honest. Like, maybe it could happen. I think there's time, because I wasn't really expecting Prime 4 this year either. So I was expecting like next holiday as like a cross-gen release, because I expect the Switch 2 to be out by then, or around then at least. But now I guess it could be earlier. I don't think Metroid Prime 4... I'm split, because I don't really have confidence in either thing, because I don't feel like Metroid Prime 4 is going to come out this year, but I also don't feel like Prime 2 and 3 are going to come out either. So, I don't know. I mean, there's a potential. There's a kind of like an easy place to fit. If Prime 4 comes out next holiday, then you can kind of fit 2 in later this year and 3 in early next year. But I just don't really think that they've been... I don't know if they're going to do full remake or visual remake. I like to call it a visual remake, but they called it a remaster. I don't know if they're going to do as extensive remasters for 2 and 3. Or at least not before Prime 4 comes out. Because this game, they did outsource it, and it has been a while. There's been some stuff suggesting that it was done like a year ago, but the project still took them...
I saw there was like a
3 or 4 years then.
Yeah, there was a rating, a German, like, you know, parental guidance rating back at June 2021 for this game.
Yeah, so like...
Yeah.
Was it 2021? I thought it was 2022.
Um, maybe you're right.
I saw
So
what
that
you were
was just
talking
a
about,
year,
Andre.
not 2 years.
I think he was 21.
Someone
my
had
memory-
sent it to me. I don't know. It's like,
But-
Twitter's been really active
I don't
lately.
know. I mean, if it was done all the way back in 2021, then that might be different. I thought it was 2022.
I thought my brain says 2021, like my memory.
But I still don't feel like even that. Despite that, I still don't feel like they had enough time to make 2 and 3 in time to release 2 this holiday and 3
Well, unless it's
early
outsourced.
next year. I mean, even so, I don't. They'd have to outsource it to multiple studios. I feel.
Yeah.
'Cause aren't 2 and 3 longer games too?
I feel like they're about the
I've
same.
never- I haven't
Two
played
took
those,
me
I
a
just
long
heard-
time because of the whole like dimension switching
It was
thing. I just
harder.
freaking confused me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
2
it-
took me a while, but I don't know if it's longer per se.
Yeah. I don't know if it's longer per se either. I think I consider them all about the same. They're
Okay.
yeah, they'll take the average person 15 to 20 hours to beat. If you know about the game already, if you understand where you're going, you can beat it in like 5 to 10 hours. But that's 5 hours is like entering like speed running territory, right? Like actual absolute expert. But yeah, I'm trying to find someone had showed something to me about a rating, but I can't find it. Point is,
Well-
the game's been done for a while.
Yeah. Well, as far as the Shadow Drop is concerned, I mean, I got a couple points on this. First thing, it was genius. It was a genius move by Nintendo because we got like a double wave of hype during that direct. First wave comes in, it hits us. Oh my god, Metroid Prime Remake, Remaster, it's real. All right, that's the first wave of hype. Then we see the trailer. Oh my god, it looks so good, it looks so glorious. I can't wait to play it. It's available today, right now. Oh my god, there's the second wave of hype, right? Media articles take this like, hey, Metroid Prime Remaster, it's real and it's available right now. You're gonna get people who impulse buy right away because the hype is like through the roof. Everyone's just like frothing at the mouth, like you don't even know what's going on. Your vision is blurry and you're just hitting purchase on the eShop, right? And then the physical copy is coming 2 weeks later. Oh, well, I gotta pre-order the physical copy too, right? So the Shadow Drop just built up so much excitement so fast. And I think that was Nintendo's strategy. And maybe it was an experiment as well to try and bolster Metroid as a series. Because as we've discussed in length during this podcast, it's niche, right? No, it's not niche. But Nintendo's trying to find any way that they can to bolster sales. And so I think the Shadow Drop, bringing that extra level of hype, was really, really smart. Secondly, I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, well, they Shadow Dropped it here. That means, in the next direct, they'll Shadow Drop Prime Echoes. And then in the direct after that, they're going to Shadow Drop Corruption.
It would be the dream.
And I don't think you can just continuously Shadow Drop stuff like the same series because that defeats the purpose of the Shadow Drop. The Shadow Drop is supposed to be a surprise. It's supposed to be like, oh my god, whoa, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
If you Shadow Drop the same series like in 3 directs in a row, by the 3rd direct, you're going to be like, all right, here comes Corruption. Yep, there it is. It's available right now. So they're not going to do that. They're not going to continuously Shadow Drop this series multiple directs in a row. And neither of you guys, to my surprise, have brought up the idea of a combo pack. Because, I mean, that was in the original rumors that we heard is that Prime 1 was getting the big boy remaster. And then Prime 2 and 3, we're just going to get a nice little HD polish and port it over to the Switch. So in my mind, that kind of like groups 2 and 3 together, right? Prime 1 remaster comes out and it's $40. That's a great value right there. Then Prime 2 and 3 are going to just get a nice easy HD polish combo pack for $60, so that's $30 per game. I think that's a great value. So that way you don't have to worry about, like how are they going to drip feed all 3 of these games? It's 2 games. It's Prime 1 Remaster and then a double pack. And so then that opens it kind of opens up room for Prime 4, I do think next year at some point. And Prime 2 and 3, I mean, they could come this holiday or they could come very early next year. But that's my personal thoughts on that. The Shadow Drop did definitely open up like a ton of room. Like, okay, now we have all this space for 2 and 3 to come out. And it would be even exacerbated more so if they were a combo pack for like $60. And mind you, I could be completely wrong on all this, but that's what I'm feeling right now. That's what I'm feeling.
I think that like very hardcore Metroid fans would be fine paying $60 for both. But there's not a lot of those people in the world. And as a more casual
not
$60
$60
I'd be upset.
Individual together.
No, I'm saying like together.
Okay.
30 each. I'd be upset. It's only $10 less than what I paid for a full like visual remake of the first one. This is bullshit. I don't want this.
You gonna sell them for 20?
Yeah, sell them for 20 each.
Wow.
That's what they're worth. Way less than half the effort. Give me half the price at least.
I mean, I think you put 2 games on 1 cartridge for most series. In my personal opinion, I'm okay paying full price for 2 games, especially if you get some kind of work, HD polish.
I buy like the Zelda remasters too for like $60, but I'm not happy about it. I only buy it because I'm a die-hard Zelda fan. Like if I wasn't, I would not buy those. Like fuck.
Right.
I'm dying of allergies. They don't exist. It's just like imaginary dust. Shout outs to Yachty with a $10 super chat. Thank you very much, Yachty. Best Nintendo source, flame emoji. That's right, I'm the source. I don't know what source I am, but this is me. I exist.
Your own source.
I am
your
the source.
Source's predictions.
Yeah.
Where do you think Jeff Grubb gets all of his information?
Thinking.
Yeah. I secretly work at Nintendo. Like, that's where I sleep. Yeah. But your
source's educated guesses.
Well, I mean, there's the Donkey Kong thing, but anyway, that's not the only thing. I'm trying to think of anything. Anyway, it does.
People in the chat are asking like, why would you visually downgrade 2 and 3 in compared to Prime 1 Remaster? Like, why just the HD polish? And first off, I'm putting that on the rumors that we've heard.
Right.
Because, we've heard tons of rumors that Big Boy Remake, HD polish, and half of that has already happened. So I'm inclined to believe that the second half has a good chance of being true. Secondly, Nintendo knows that Prime 2 and 3 were not as commercially or critically acclaimed as Prime 1. Prime 1 is the holy grail of the Metroid Prime series. So they're going to give that one the extra bit of attention. Prime 2 and 3, as a Metroid fan, I would love for them to get the same level of care, right? I would love for them to get that full remaster that Retro did for Prime 1. But again, I'm just putting my thoughts based off of the rumor and of the fact that Prime 2 and 3, they're just not as important as Prime 1. But again, in an ideal world, they would all 3 of them get the super remaster. I would love that.
Yeah. The reason we assume that they're not is purely because of the rumor, right? Which the rumor also told us Prime Remaster would be coming and that it would be enhanced in the way that it has been. So, the fact that this part of the rumor is proven true, why should we doubt the other part of the rumor?
Yeah.
That said, though,
and I'd like to clarify just real quick that earlier I said that I didn't think Prime 2 and 3 were coming, because a lot of people have been suggesting them as like the same level as Remaster as the original. I don't think that's happening. I do think it's very viable that we could get a double pack, and I do think, as much as I would not be happy to buy it, and I think it'd probably sell better if it was $40, it'd probably be $60, because that's just what Nintendo does. But just wanted to clarify that.
Honestly, I don't know how Nintendo's gonna handle it. I don't. But I was gonna say though, I think it'd be interesting to go back and check all the initial reports about the 2 and 3, because if I remember correctly, my memory's been a little foggy today, but if I remember correctly, there wasn't a lot of information or even conviction behind what was said about 2 and 3, so it feels like the information on 2 and 3 is a bit more sparse. So I say that to provide hope, and perhaps also inevitable disappointment. But what I'm saying is, while it has been rumored that 2 and 3 are going to come down the line and get enhancements, it ain't going to be to the degree of 1. Like, that's been said, but I also feel that what is known about 2 and 3 is also less. And with less known about them, there's also more room for interpretation and change and what could happen, right? Because maybe they saw how good the remaster came out, like, whoa, maybe we should do more than just an upscale for 2 and 3. Maybe we should go back and rework these. And now the Retro Studios is on Prime 4 and they've had other studios help out with the remaster. Maybe they could kind of like let them use the engine and kind of use 2 and 3 as the blueprint, obviously, and they can kind of make 2 and 3 comparable to what they did for 1. Like, I think it's possible, and I think the fact that this conversation is happening shows that it makes sense, right? Like, I think with coming out with, like, if you assume you don't have any knowledge about what's going on behind the scenes, and you just look at, hey, Nintendo remastered Prime 1 and they're working on Prime 4, well, what about 2 and 3? So I think from like a very like basic like consumer understanding level, I don't think it's like at all like foolish to like think, oh, well, what if they do that, right? I think Nintendo has to be aware that there are going to be some people that might think they may do that. Now, I don't think they're going to come out and say, hey, we're not going to remaster 2 and 3 in the same way, be disappointed. But I do think they are, depending on what they decide makes the most sense, they are going to be cautious about how, or perhaps cautious is the wrong word. They're going to be calculated with how they present them. And it's just kind of crazy. Like, I think what we're seeing with the remaster, and again, I want to wait till we see sales numbers, but this whole shadow drop situation, and it's seeming to have worked really well for Prime Remaster in terms of picking up a lot of attention, hopefully strong sales numbers. Like, Nintendo may see that and think, oh, maybe we can kind of do this again, right? Maybe we should do this for 2, and then we should do this for 3, like maybe. But that all said, I am going to stick with the rumor, and the rumor is that 2 and 3 are going to come down the road and be less extensive remasters. And down the road, there's a lot of room for interpretation there. Is that before Prime 4? Or is it after Prime 4? I don't know. I do want to come back to the dual pack thing, because I haven't perhaps paid too much respect to it. I would love it. I'm not saying it can't happen. But what I am saying is this. I can't think of, and maybe I just can't think of it because, again, my memory's foggy. Today, at least. I can't think of a time Nintendo has done a collection that included 2 significant single-player campaigns like that. Like, maybe a collection includes, like, smaller titles. Well, I mean, there's 3D All-Stars.
Yeah. And, like, the pricing of the remaster changes things. Because before, we were thinking it was possible that they could release them, like, individually at $60, like they do some of their other titles. Now, that's completely impossible. Like, they can't do that. They can't even release them at $40 individually because, like, I don't feel like that's fair to the audience. Like, to pay the same amount for the remaster for, like, a basic visual upgrade. So they gotta charge at least, like, $30. And if you're gonna do that, why not just put them together in a double pack for $60? Hopefully, they would come up for, like, $20 or something, but that seems unlikely. Nintendo likes to keep their value high.
Double pack for $40.
Yeah, like, that's what I would love. I think that would be a great price.
Or
I don't think that's gonna happen.
Or maybe a great price. It hurts my heart though.
Double pack for $49.99. How about that? There, that's compromise. $50. Double pack for $50.
Okay. I mean, Nintendo shocked us all with the $40 price tag on Prime Remaster.
No one expected that, and I think
everyone
do
it twice.
Perfectly willing.
$20 for both of those.
Nah, $25. $24.99.
I think if they want the
when was the last time you seen a game worth $25?
Sell, because I think there's a lot less
indie title.
There's gonna be a lot less hype for them if they're just basic visual or just basic like upgrades, like Skyward Sword HD or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't think they're gonna have as much selling potential. So I mean, you could say you could get more money out of the less people, but if it's a cheaper price, that might sell more as well, and you get a larger audience.
I also have another issue of, because that I alluded to, you brought up a great point earlier. Like, Prime 1 is like it is the game of the trilogy, right? It is the cream of the crop. Like, it is the best one. It's the most celebrated. It's the most successful. 2 and 3 did not have as much success. weren't considered to be as good. I mean, they're all three are considered to be super high quality game of the year level kind of games, like
All
from
three
a
are
critical
good.
reception.
Yeah, don't get it twisted.
But Prime 1 is considered a cut above the rest. Prime 1 is considered one of the greatest games ever made. Just so you understand. Like, I think Metroid Prime the highest rated game on Metacritic for the GameCube era? At least for GameCube, it might be. It's
Probably.
if it's not number 1, it's like number 2. So, yeah, it's very impressive. So, anyways, the point is though, like 2 and 3, like if they were to release them, however they choose to release them, whether it's enhanced or not, I have a hard time believing they're going to be as successful. And I also wonder if maybe they can even like do a thing where perhaps they kind of overstay their welcome a little bit. Like, you know, like how many people do you think are going to buy 1, play through 1 and beat it, buy 2, play through 2, buy 3, play through and beat it, and then 4? I don't know. Right? So it's one of those things where I think how they release them, I think they're going to want to be very calculated about it. So with that all said, I want to go out and say that if we see 2 and 3 before Prime 4, at least one of them, maybe both to your point, will be brought up when Prime 4 is finally shown off. They'll use that excitement of Prime 4, it's like, hey, Prime 4 is coming out 6-9 months from now, or something like that. We're shadow dropping 2 now, or we're releasing 2 and 3 in a month, or like if they're gonna release them separately, maybe shadow drop 2, right, and say 3 is coming out in 3 months or something, right, and then Prime 1's already been on the eShop, and maybe they do some sort of like disc, like, you know, like some sort of like online promotion where, oh, you know, you can get all 3 at a discounted price or something like that. But I feel like they may take advantage of the Prime 4 like actual gameplay reveal to bring up 2 and 3 at some point down the road. How they price them, how they package them, that's a huge question mark. And we're not even going to touch Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD. You can just, I'm not saying kiss them goodbye, but like put them in a closet and forget about them for a long time. Tears of the Kingdom is what it's about right now, and I doubt they're going to release Wind Waker and Twilight Princess like a month or 2 afterwards either. Like, it's not, I don't expect them this year. I think you should just just forget about it for an indefinite amount of time. They will come back at some point, but down the road, when we least expect it. Anyway, I do think that, you know, Nintendo's created this new Metroid website. You got Metroid Dread, you got these Game Boy Metroid titles, you got Metroid Prime Remastered. Like, all of a sudden, there are quality Metroid titles on Switch within a fairly short time span. They have positioned themselves to kick off Metroid Prime 4 marketing soon. So that's all really exciting. That all said, I think we should now move on to some other stuff. Any final thoughts on Metroid? We're going to be talking about Metroid every week for a long time. So I know we're scratching the surface here, but there's so much to kind of bring up here. So let me check on the chat real quick, and then we'll come back. Charles Shadell added me, Metroid Prime 4 is coming next year. Only the remaster of 2 and 3 is done by another studio, or 2 and 3 are only average reworks. Yeah, I agree. Brian Doe, Prime 4 is on a Tears of the Kingdom path. The heads of Nintendo see the financial benefit of releasing games with a Red Dead Redemption 2, RDR2 level of polish. It bothered them to the point that they said something in an interview. You have to show me the interview, but I do agree Prime 4 is on a Tears of the Kingdom path. I think Prime 4 is also probably going to be a $70 game. So, yeah.
Oh, possible.
Although, because it's Metroid, maybe they'll be like, eh, but Metroid
I
probably...
feel like they shouldn't, you know.
Yeah, we'll see, right? Like, we'll see where the market's at a year from now. Because we're not going to get a price for Prime 4 for a while. I don't think it's coming out that soon. Although, if it comes out this holiday, we'll see.
I don't expect to see a ton of $70
Don't expect Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD on Switch in the next 2 or 3 years. That may be fair. Ronnie Fazio, hey man, I just got here and you might have already brought this up, but do you think Metroid Prime Remastered being $40 is a sign of future pricing for remasters? Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe is $60, so it's coming out the 24th.
Yeah, no.
I think Prime Remaster being $40 is a unique situation. They didn't add any new content to it, but they did completely redo the visuals, so I think it's a unique situation. And a case-by-case basis, we'll see different pricing for different remasters and all that jazz.
It's true for all their games. It's the same for Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom at $70. Like, I don't expect a ton of games, or very few games at all, to hit $70. Like, I think, like, Tears of the Kingdom is going to be the only one for a while. Like, unless, like, I could see maybe the next 3 Mario game being the next one to be 70.
Yeah.
Unless Prime 4,
All right,
I feel like
well,
they should.
let me ask you a question, Brandon. We don't know anything about the second half. Do we have another $70 title directly from Nintendo in the second half of this year? No?
Not unless there's like Metroid Prime 4, and even then I don't think they'll price it then, because I think they'll want more sales potential.
I think Metroid Prime 4 has to earn that kind of like Tears.
I think Tears of the Kingdom is an extremely unique case because it's been one of the longest development cycles of any Nintendo game, and probably the most expensive. I mean, Breath of the Wild was already the most expensive Nintendo game ever made, and Tears of the Kingdom's probably even more expensive than that.
Yeah.
So that's probably why.
Yeah.
And I imagine other Nintendo games are not going to do that unless it's something on a similar scale.
Yeah.
And which is extremely rare. So there might be like 1 or 2. I imagine like I could count on one hand in the next like 5 years the amount of $70 games you're going to get. Unless they just upgrade the price across the board next generation, but I don't think they're going to do that.
Yeah. Jean-Carl is saying Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is $70 because it's using a 32GB cartridge. Do we know how big it is on the eShop? Are we allowed to, like, I don't know if we know how big the file size is yet.
I think I saw something that was like 19 gigabytes or something.
I'm pretty sure the file size has been released officially. I don't
It's
remember
like
what it
around
is,
20, I think.
but I'm pretty sure they
The
posted it.
Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom
So they
recently
probably would
showed
have to use
off
the
its
32.
second official trailer via Nintendo's February 8th Direct, and following an update on its store page, Nintendo revealed the game's digital file size to be 18.2 gigabytes, which is above 16, and if they come in denominations of 8, 16, and 32, 18.2 is bigger than 16, so it would have to be a 32 gigabyte cartridge.
Yeah, I don't know if they have ones that are in between that. I don't think so.
I've never heard of
I think the whole like 32 gigabyte cartridge thing, to me it just feels like a very convenient excuse. I'm kind of just feeling like Nintendo's like, hey, we got Tears of the Kingdom, people are gonna buy it no matter what. Let's just try it and see what happens.
How big was Breath of the Wild's file size? Was it like 13?
I imagine the development cycle and the amount of money that costs is way more significant than just the amount it costs extra for the 32 gigabyte cards.
Breath of the Wild was 13.4 gigabytes, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
Anyways, I mean, keep in mind Nintendo has crazy compression technology, right? So whatever, you can't look at like a game's size and be like, oh, that game's like, you know, too small, too big. It's not how it works.
You think Nintendo doesn't have enough money to afford 32 gigabyte cartridges? It's gonna break the bank, so they have to increase the price of Tears of the Kingdom.
Well,
They've got plenty of money. They're making more money now than they've ever made in decades. They've got plenty. They could easily sell Tears of the Kingdom for $60 and be totally fine.
yes,
32
give
gigabyte
away
cartridge,
Tears of the
I don't feel
Kingdom.
like justifies.
yes, but also they're in the business to make money, right? So
For sure.
Yeah.
And on top of that, so much of the sales are digital now, which they get 100% profits
Right.
from that. So another,
Right.
I don't think
And
32
plus-
gigabyte cartridge is really going to affect their bottom line that much. But to your point,
I
Andre,
doubt that they
they're trying to
would.
maximize their profits. So
They also look at
Yeah.
things on a case-by-case basis, I imagine. Like, I doubt that they just look at, like, all the profits in general and are like, well, we don't need, like, to make more money, or we don't need to, like, Breath of the Wild to do that great because everything else is doing amazing. They probably
Right.
look at how much money Tears of the Kingdom has cost, and then projected sales, and then how much they need to sell it at to make money. So,
yeah,
because
it's
even if they're
calculated.
making money on other things, if selling at 60 is gonna hurt their profit margins, then they'll sell it at 70 as they're doing.
Yeah,
Nintendo's not one to they want to make money off of everything. They don't want to lose money like anywhere. They don't lose money in their hardware, they don't lose money in their software, they don't lose money online. They don't lose money. They only make money.
yes. So you know, I would say that 32 GB cartridges would be only one of many considerations.
Yeah.
Samuel A with a super chat. Thank you very much for the super chat, Samuel. Samuel says, "Sorry I'm late. I think they're raising the price because people will still buy it. This is the safest game to price at $70. It'll succeed regardless. If there's any game that tells us it's going to price above 60, it is Tears of the Kingdom. That totally makes sense." Anyways, let's move on here. We've talked about Metroid, right?
Yep.
We're gonna talk about a lot of Zelda. We got a lot of Zelda stuff to talk about, but I want to kind of take this moment to talk about everything else. So we've briefly touched on Pikmin here, but I mean, Brandon, I know you and I kind of touched on it, and Looney Tunes, I know you're not that big into Pikmin, but Pikmin 4 game's coming out pretty soon too. It's only 2 months removed from Tears of the Kingdom, and kind of some things that we've talked about this game has like they showed off nighttime gameplay first time, like that's really exciting. So if you guys don't understand what we're getting at here, in Pikmin, the way it works, you explore this planet, right? You're like small, you're very tiny, and everything's really massive around you, and it's basically a survival game. It's a strategy survival game where you use Pikmin as kind of like your army. They work for you, they help you out, and you're collecting fruit to make juice to kind of live, to as sustenance, and you're exploring this exotic, wild, and alien world. To you, it's alien, but you'll see it's like, oh, there's like a giant ruler. It's clearly based off of Earth, but you're from somewhere else, right? So you're like visiting this planet as a small creature. But at night, though, the Bulborbs come out and they completely wreak havoc, and it's extremely dangerous. So the idea is you need to escape before night comes, and you don't want to leave your Pikmin behind, and if you do, well, they all die. They get eaten in the night. So there's always been kind of like this, they basically created this narrative that at nighttime it's super threatening and scary, and there's nobody who can compete at night. So they've had this idea for a while, like, okay, well, someone like me is like, okay, that's cool, it's dangerous, so why can't I play it? I want to be there at night where it's dangerous. Let me see the world at its worst. And in Pikmin 4, it looks like, based off the trailer showing off the Bulborbs at night, that we're gonna have some nighttime gameplay. We're gonna get to see the havoc that is wreaked upon the world at night in Pikmin, and that's pretty exciting to me.
My theory is that you will still be able to like go into space, because we see the Onion and the Rocket. I think they have a ship. I forget. I need to look over the trailer, but at least the Onion, you see them go into space, right? So that's obviously still a thing, but I imagine it's just before, whereas if you didn't make it back in time, you just kind of like lost. All your Pikmin died, and you were just kind of screwed. I imagine this time it's just going to be like, you can go back to the ship, or it's going to be really hard, but you can just stay out. Now all these dangerous creatures are going to come out, and you're probably going to lose a ton of Pikmin, and you might just end up getting screwed anyways. But you still have a chance. Like, they're not just going to hard cut you off and be like, oh, your Pikmin are dead. It's just like,
well, maybe they put some,
much better way.
Maybe they put some like more desirable items at night to like encourage you to brave it. Like, do you want to risk it? Like, you could go out at night, it's super dangerous, but you might get some. Like I said, I don't know how Pikmin really plays. Like, I don't know if there are resources that you gather or whatnot, but maybe there's some desirable items out there at night. So to kind of dare you to go out.
It's gonna be interesting, like what happens there. But I wonder if it's like mission based. Like, maybe there are at times you have to go at night, and there are only certain resources available at night. And maybe I don't know if you could stay.
We don't know how the game is set up, because each Pikmin game plays like differently in terms of like what the overall objective is, like what you're going for. It's still like that RTS gameplay, but like in the first one, you have to get all your ship parts, and you have like a certain amount of days to do it, and like once you built your ship up, then you can leave and you beat the game. But like the other ones had completely different objectives with completely different things you were looking for, structured with different time limits and things. So we don't really know how this is going to be structured. We don't know when you're going to be allowed out during the nighttime, but there's still a lot of question marks about like the fundamentals of how this game's going to play. We know a few things, but there's still a lot because they mostly just showed us footage rather than explaining what was going on, which is true for a lot of Nintendo trailers lately, especially for Zelda.
Sorry, I just put up the Pikmin 4 key art on screen. Thank you, Giancarlo, for bringing it up. I thought it was worth discussing. So
We were talking about great visuals earlier. I mean, Pikmin is clearly, and always has been, a gorgeous franchise.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and they're doing a great job of showing a lot of color contrast here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, I mean, Pikmin 4 is cool. They got cute little birds and little Pikmin dogs now, which are I love.
Yeah,
and
you got
adore.
the dog.
Yeah. And I brought up the key art specifically though because Giancarlo said that it shows all the Pikmin types, and you know I had saw it and I was like, I thought we were missing a Pikmin type, but now looking at it, I'm like, actually no, they're all there. So you have the 3 original Pikmin, red, yellow, and blue. Then the 2 Pikmin, the heavy and the poison one, the purple and white, from Pikmin 2. And then they added in Pikmin 3 rock Pikmin that are right here. This is the one that I had missed beforehand. I thought it wasn't there, so I was disappointed, but it was just kind of because it's a rock. It's a little harder to see. And the flying Pikmin, they added these 2 different types in Pikmin 3. And now Pikmin 4, we have confirmation of the ice type Pikmin. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different Pikmin types. That is a lot of variety there. I wonder if there'll be a 9th type. I'm not saying there really needs to be. I'm not saying every Pikmin game they just have to add new Pikmin types, but that's
It'd be
cool.
fun.
Yeah, and I like how the ice Pikmin you can create, like, you can freeze water so you can walk on it. Like, that's cool.
Yeah, you just gotta kind of leave the Pikmin in the water while you're doing that.
It might be challenging to have 8 different Pikmin types to kind of like play around with, but
Well, at least you don't have separate onions for all of them.
yeah,
It seems to be the one onion this time.
from what we
I think
saw,
3
right,
was like that.
in the footage, like we could see multiple different colored Pikmin coming out of one onion.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
which makes sense. There's just way too many types now.
Yeah, I still haven't done like a deep analysis on Pikmin yet. I am planning some kind of Pikmin video later this week, but yeah, I mean Pikmin looks amazing. I'm really excited for it. You know, we get nighttime gameplay, the ice Pikmin, the visuals look impressive. There's a little cute dog. Like I think it's really cool. Actually, we even saw like Bulborbs like giving birth to baby Bulborbs. Like there was a giant like Bulborb queen pooping out baby Bulborb larva. It was weird.
Man, if I didn't know like a little bit about Pikmin, I'd think y'all are crazy. You're talking about Bulborbs, onions flying in space.
Yeah, it's kind of funny though when you think about like just different like games, right? If you have no context for what people are talking, we're like, what in the world are they getting at? You
Y'all
know?
are lucky I've played a demo or two. Otherwise, I'd be
They
like,
talk about them UFO signs.
Yeah. You ever like? I mean, a great example is like anime, right? Like here's like a really funky and it's actually apparently the most watched anime and most watched show in the world this last year. Apparently, is One Piece. Apparently, but like. You watch a random episode in One Piece, you're gonna be like, "What the hell is going on?" Like,
it's like an acid trip all the way through.
It is so weird. If you don't start from the beginning and slowly build up this knowledge of the different things in place for One Piece, you come in randomly, you're like, "What?" It's freaky. Like it's gonna be off-putting. Like
and anime tropes in general. You know, even like the most simplest one, like the big teardrop or whatever. Anytime I like introduce an anime to a non-anime viewer, I'm like, all right, what is the most tame animated show I can show this person right now? Because I don't want to scare them off with uwu faces and little chibi people like running around.
Yeah,
I usually think maybe Attack on Titan, which is it's intense, but it's not that kind of it's a different kind.
I recommend Berserk. Let's go Berserk route. The first episode is a little crazy because you got like fighting demons and everything, but after the first episode, everything's like more medieval political type stuff. So I'm like, all right, Berserk is usually a good one, and it's a masterpiece. So
yeah, I actually haven't watched Berserk, so I probably should.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm watching through Vinland Saga right now, which I also feel like is kind of tame. When we say tame, we mean tame for like Western audience in terms of of
like
anime
none of the
tropes,
weird,
right?
like Japanese, anime craziness.
Like Attack on
Mhm.
Titan, Vinland Saga. I'm gonna assume Berserk as well, from what I know. Like they're very intense shows. Just
Yeah,
they're something that the Western audience can kind of understand a little bit more easily.
for sure.
But anyways, I'm excited for Pikmin. There is a deeper analysis coming, hopefully later this week. But is there anything else in the direct that you guys want to kind of bring up before we move on to Zelda? I got something. I feel like you guys may bring it up before I do, but is there something in particular you want to hone in? Actually, there's a couple things, but
I mean, there was some good DLC stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I'm excited for the Wave 4 for Xenoblade 3. That looks hype.
yes.
Like, what is going on there? We see adult, or older Shulk, because he's already adult in the game. We see adult Rex. We see somebody who seems to be like Noah's grandson, potentially. We're not sure exactly who he is. It's wild. And we got, what is his name? Alvis, I think?
Yeah, so what's crazy, we got Alvis, right, who
Seemingly a heartless monster of a
Yeah.
person now.
may be
Which is
the...
not the case in the original Xenoblade Chronicles.
What's
He
interesting
was
is
just
that
very mysterious.
when you play through Xenoblade Chronicles 3, there's this evil like faction called Mobius, and each Mobius is like console B, C, or whatever, and you go through the entire alphabet, the final boss being Z.
Right.
But there's one letter that you may not realize is missing once you finish the game, that you never interacted with the entire time. You go through 25 of the 26 letters, but there's one letter.
Is it A?
Console A. You never run into Console A ever
Oh.
until Wave 4 of that DLC. We see Alvis coming back from Xenoblade 1, coming through the portal, future connected, and Alvis, last I checked, starts with the letter A.
That it
So
You sure?
does.
Yeah.
Almost.
it's up for debate. It's up for there's not for debate. It's pretty evident.
50-50 for
Yeah,
me.
so it looks
So
like
this was planned from the get go. They were planting the seeds long
Probably.
ago.
yeah,
Mhm.
I think they definitely did plan
and the
this.
Torrent DLC.
I mean, if
seems
you
to
go
have
into the
planned this.
city, they basically show it. We're actually, I was planning on making a video about this tomorrow for Xenoblade, but if you go into the city, they pretty much show you the new version of Shulk and the new version of Rex, both showing the footage, and this guy who I think is related to the line of Vandam and Noah. I at first I thought he was Noah, but upon closer inspection, we know who he is. He's one of the founders.
Okay.
Yeah. If you go into Xenoblade 3, you go into the city, that room with the 6 statues.
Yeah. Okay.
3 of them.
I didn't know it was confirmed that that was the founder. I know
Well,
who you're talking about though.
well, if confirmed, but like if you look at it, you read the description, it's pretty clear. It matches the design entirely. It looks somewhat like Noah, and I think that's intentional because it is sort of supposed to be kind of like that lineage. It looks like, but he's not actually. No, he's someone else. So
I mean,
yeah. So it looks like this is the story of the founders, and we're seeing what appears to be in an environment that's still in Aeonios, like it's all lands in the sky, or like they're not on the sea. So what it may be is in the past. So we may be looking at a prequel that takes place before there are a whole bunch of annihilation events that took away a lot of the land. There's probably gonna be some new areas to explore as we see. And Rex and Shulk are there, adult Rex and Shulk. I'm most impressed by Rex's girl. Like Rex is like an adult, and that's kind of cool because I think in Xenoblade 2, Rex is like the youngest protagonist. He's the least developed out of all.
I do not
Xenoblade
like that
protagonists.
he's a kid.
Yeah, like even I think Shulk in Xenoblade 1's like 18 or 19 or something. Like he's a young adult, but he's like actually an adult. Rex is still a kid. Like just getting into puberty, right? Like he still hasn't fully grown yet. But here in the Xenoblade 3 DLC, Rex is a full-grown man. Actually, what's crazy about Rex, we actually see that Rex has 3 wives. Apparently, he had kids with. See, this is that thing. This is that thing. We were just like, what the hell?
What do you mean 3? Why 3?
Rex.
I was gonna say Pyra and Mithra turned him into a man, but now you're telling me there's a third.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
joined in.
yeah, we'd already know she's the queen. Queen from Xenoblade 2.
I didn't play 2. Sorry,
Nia.
Oh.
I didn't play 3 either.
Nia.
Played the first one.
What do you mean it's confirmed?
There's a picture, bro. They all have kids. I mean, okay, if it confirmed.
That's wild.
You don't believe me?
What?
You don't believe me?
Are you sure it's not just that Pyre and Mithra are like, not actually,
Okay,
not
so-
actually with them? It's just like a weird situation, and then he's with Nia.
I don't know.
Otherwise, what the heck, dude?
You didn't know? Okay, have you been Xenoblade 3 yet?
Yes.
Okay, alright, so I'm not spoiling anything. You just missed the detail. They show it in the epilogue. They show like a picture of Rex and his family.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, I'm trying to put the image.
But it's not implied that he's married to 3 people.
Well, he had kids with them.
I think he just had kids with the one.
Apparently, when
I
you
don't know,
look
I have
up
to go back
Rex
and look at the
photos, it
picture,
doesn't
but-
show you Rex from Xenoblade 2. It shows you Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yes, thank God. I was gonna say.
I want to go back and look at that photo and see if there's any
Who's-
indication that
Oh,
kids
by
are
the way,
from
people are
multiple
referring
women.
to him in his adult
So I
form
feel like
as
there could just be
Chatosaurus
all
Rex.
from one woman. I feel like
Chatosaurus
Rex
Rex.
could have had all those kids with just the one, just with Nia. And I don't feel like they have to be.
I'm trying
like
to.
one kid
Oh,
each.
there we go. There's the image.
Well, that makes sense about the Google searches. Like, who is more niche?
My
Rex
dude,
or
It's
Tyrannosaurus?
so heavily implied that he has kids with all 3 of them, and I'm going to show you right now. It's not up for debate.
Insane.
I'm correct. You were wrong. Let me show you. You might think, oh, he's being kind of a dick right now, but wait, let me show you. It's pretty obvious.
Okay, I'm going to the.
Hold on. Yeah, I'm about to put it up on stream right now.
If only YouTube wasn't completely broken for me, I literally can't.
Yeah, I'm not there yet, but
I have to restart my phone. It's glitched.
Oh, well then take my word for it.
I'll take your word
Or you
for
could
it.
just
Or you
go-
could send me the image on
or-
Twitter or something.
Yeah, I could do that. Or you could just Google Rex photo Xenoblade wives. Go to Google Images.
Nah, I have to have this on my search history. It's not that bad.
Okay.
Rex, you said Rex Xenoblade picture wives?
Yeah. Okay, it's on stream now. For those doubting. Alright, you look at that image. You could argue, oh, maybe they had kids. No. No. Rex, Pyra and Mithra have a kid. Nia has a kid. They're all around the same age. They're all sitting on chairs next to each other, and Rex has
Well-
his arms. Okay, maybe there's
Well,
a
hold on.
random father. Maybe he didn't have kids with any of them. Maybe they all just had different, husbandos that are not
There
on
are
screen.
other people in the
I don't know.
photo.
That tiger on the right looks very fatherly. The way he's looking at Nia and that baby.
He is her attendant.
He's her blade.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, now we're going
The
down.
kid's got
Yeah.
the same hair color as the tiger. I mean,
Or as Nia. Oh, you know what's interesting though? The fact that they had kids means that there are people that could actually be characters in the world of Xenoblade 3, maybe even in the DLC. What if they're the founders? Ooh, that's interesting. Now they're probably not the founders though. There's nothing suggesting that, but it's not out of the question. This is a Xenoblade 3 image, by the way. So, as we
Yeah.
discussed with Console A and Alvis, they clearly were thinking ahead with the DLC here and the story for it. So it's not out of the question that one of their kids could play a role in the story for 3 as well. Like it's possible. Like there's lots of generations and things like that. So,
I still can't get over the fact that Rex had apparently a kid with each of these women. Like,
yeah,
they're all newborns. Like, he must have impregnated them all around the same time. Like,
Yeah.
bro.
He's just a
Chatosaurus Rex.
gunslinger.
Chatosaurus Rex.
This is
Well, I'm not-
so. It's like such a non-Nintendo kind of like
That is.
thing.
Well,
What the heck?
Xenoblade has mature themes. It's just this is a random picture.
This is
that
off the rails, dude.
Yeah,
this was I played as this kid.
Brandon, this was in the epilogue and you didn't see it. So just to show you, it's
I
not
did
like
see it. I just didn't notice that
you just didn't think about
the
it.
implications.
That yeah.
I played this kid for 80 hours, and now he's doing this. God,
Yeah.
can't believe it.
Well, I'm not gonna play the
87.
DLC,
Remember,
but
people, Rex
I-
can't adopt. No, he can't.
I need y'all to update me on what is going on here. Once the DLC's out and y'all played it, I need answers.
Which
Yeah.
what Xenoblades have you played?
Just the first one,
All right,
HD, when it came out on
So,
Switch.
okay, how'd you feel about it?
I liked it. I just don't have enough time in my day to play JRPGs. Like, if
They
I
are
play a
long.
JRPG, like
They are
I'm
long.
risking a
It took me
lot.
like 6 months to beat Xenoblade.
Yeah, if
3.
you don't do side quests, you could probably beat the game in like 50 to 60 hours.
That's a lot to ask of me. I'm neglecting family at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they take a while.
Oh,
They take a
Thank
while,
Sorry.
but
I can only beat like 2 or 3 RPGs a year.
they're
yeah,
extensive.
dude.
Anyways, moving past the many adventures of Chatosaurus Rex. What? Oh, I picked the wrong. Okay, there we go. Yeah, Xenoblade 3, which includes Chatosaurus Rex and Shulk with long hair and a cape. Yeah, the DLC looks hype. I wasn't 100% expecting them to show it off yet, but I mean, they gave us like a brief glimpse. Like they wanted us. It's something for us to be excited about. Like this is gonna be a physical release, and actually, you know, I'll say this, Lunatunes, the Xenoblade DLCs are shorter RPGs, but they're still function as their own games. Like for example, you could probably go
Like
to the
20,
store
30 hours.
and pay and buy Torn of the Golden Country, which yeah, it's like a 20 to 30 hour RPG and it's still pretty good. So, of course, you'll play and be like, man, I probably should play Xenoblade 2 now. But
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
No, I did play the
Future Connected,
DLC that came with the HD
yeah. So
port. Yeah, I did
that's-
play that. Yeah.
how were you able to finish that?
Yeah, I didn't like it as much as the base game. The way they changed like the combat, I wasn't a huge fan.
Yeah. I'll say that Future Connected
uh,
is a little bit smaller than Torn of the Golden Country. You know, at the end of the day, it was like an add-on. I personally enjoyed it, but I do see where you're coming from. It is like a slightly different take. They try to remix it up a little bit, and usually they kind
Yeah,
of streamline it because it's a smaller game too, right? So if it's not as big, there's less. They're not going to put as many systems in place for you to build upon in just like 15 to 20 hours.
Yeah, I love like the I don't remember the exact like term that they used, the combination attacks. Like that was one of my favorite
Chain
parts
attack.
of the main game,
Chain
and then they
attack.
took it away in the DLC, and I was like, oh no, like that was
Yeah.
the best part. But okay,
Chain
Alright.
attacks do come back. Are in 2. They're in 3. They're pretty sick. Are chain attacks in Torna?
X. Oh, in Torna?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
think
I would say, I mean, Xenoblade 1, including Future Connected, that has the most simple combat system. Like 2 and Torna and 3 have a lot more in-depth stuff. So, yeah. But I mean, maybe what you do is you try Torna out. Like I think Torna is definitely a good entryway point to 2. I mean, I played 2 first, but it is a prologue, so you know it can go either way.
I hear 1 and 2 are parallel stories, like they're
They
happening
are.
at the same time, right?
They are. Yeah, so
That's cool.
you can play either in any order.
That's pretty cool. I like
yeah.
that.
Yeah, and then now 3 takes place like way into the future, and now it looks like with the DLC, it looks like it's gonna be in the past, maybe, but well, I don't know. There could be some time foolery here where it's not all-
Shenanigans.
yeah, there definitely could be some shenanigans involved, but the evidence is that this is a story of the founders, and there's like in 3 there's this big city that has like 6 statues of 6 great heroes that kind of founded or helped into a founding of that civilization, and we saw 3 of them in the trailer, which includes one of them being Shulk, the main character from Xenoblade 1, and one of them being Rex, the main character from Xenoblade 2. Third other character looks like the main character from 3, but is probably just a descendant or like an ancestor of him. It's weird.
I mean, it's kind of like a reincarnation almost.
I don't know. He looks like he has a different personality. It's strange because Noah also has a kid, and I don't know if we see the kid at all in 3 at any point beyond just like the story stuff. So like maybe he's his kid. Like there's the speculation there can go in all sorts of wild directions, but I'm just kind of excited to see that they're doing this. Like I always wanted to see Rex and Shulk and maybe someone like Noah, if not Noah. I don't think he's Noah, but someone like him. It's cool. Maybe he's his cousin. Darcy added me. According to the statues that we now effectively know, is Shulk and Rex in some form. Shulk needs to lose an arm and Rex needs to lose an eye after that cutscene occurs. Yeah. So yeah, that is true. Rex and Shulk are apparently about to get wrecked. So.
Oh god.
Yeah. Yeah. Samuel, only a few years passes in the story of Xenoblade 3. Remember, they're in a time loop of X years, so time doesn't pass by like it should. I don't know exactly how to make of it, right? I think 3 is going to require a New Game Plus playthrough for me to kind of re-experience the story. Because there's really, like, some interesting things going on there. Because the way 3 works is that everyone has 7-year lifespans. And then you die. Or it's 10-year lifespans, I'm sorry. You have 10-year lifespans. You either A, die in battle, or you die at 10 years. And then you're reincarnated, and the cycle continues. It's just an eternity of waging war. But I don't want to spoil too much about 3, though. Like, that's not a spoiler. That's just the premise of the game.
It was kind of a spoiler, to be honest. I mean, a little bit. Yeah.
No, they say you have 10-year lifespans at the beginning of the Xenoblade 3 Direct.
But I think the fact that like a lot of the reincarnation stuff is hidden from you.
All right, you're right. It's light. We won't dive too much into that for now. But there will be a Xenoblade video really soon, potentially tomorrow. So we'll get more into that. Anyways, Samuel, thank you for the super chat as well. I read this, right? Yeah, I literally read it. Yeah, and that's where we're at. My brain kind of did a jump there. But, you know, before we jump into Zelda... Well, I mean, I think we could just jump into Zelda now. You guys ready to jump into Zelda?
Sure.
Yeah, the only thing I've got to say is that the best Zelda game is coming to Switch very soon. That being the Minish Cap for the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
If you've not played Minish Cap, now's your time.
That is my favorite.
Is Minish Cap not available already?
Is it? Did it drop immediately, or is it?
Minish Cap
I thought it came in
the
the coming soon.
I haven't downloaded the app yet.
Yeah, I
it's
haven't.
The first game they show when they show off Game Boy Advance.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, I think it did drop.
Yeah.
I think it's Oracle's. It's the Oracle games that are coming later.
Yes.
You're right.
Yes,
you're right,
those
you're
are coming later.
I'm very excited for them. Yeah.
You can play it right now. Go download it.
Right now.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's great. 100% it did back in the day. I played it on my DS Lite though.
Yeah.
Backwards compatibility is great.
I'll say that it was quite shocking that they did this early. I thought it was gonna be September because they usually do the announcements for Nintendo Online expansions in September. I was very surprised.
Yeah, same. It was very early for that.
Yeah. So it does kind of lead me to wonder what's going on with the second half of the year, right? I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't do this. I should not do this. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to speak my mind. I'm going to tell you what is on my mind. Listen. I think it would be disingenuous of me if I didn't tell you what I was thinking. I gotta tell you what I'm thinking. I'm not saying I believe it yet, but I'm telling you I'm thinking about it.
The suspense is killing me right now.
Damn. Yeah, just say it.
Alright. We've kind of been sort of like prancing around the subject, but I haven't really like honed in on it. Pikmin 4 comes out July. What comes out after July, guys? From Nintendo.
Off the top of my head?
Nothing confirmed as far as I know.
Nothing.
August.
It comes in August.
The month of August.
August comes after July.
Yeah, that is true.
But what game comes out after Pikmin 4 on the Switch from Nintendo? Nothing that we know about. And here we're in a situation where, Nintendo Shadow Drops Prime Remastered just shoves into February right next to Kirby, which makes no sense to me, but hey, if it works out, it works out. And then we get these Game Boy games announced what I believe to be half a year early. And they're just there. They just did that. Like, why this soon? It just kind of makes me wonder, what in the world are they planning for the second half of the year?
New Switch.
New Switch hardware.
Let's go.
That's what you want to say.
I will.
I don't know if you should say it. I don't know if you should say it, but that's what you want to say.
That is what it would appear that is what I'm alluding to.
Coming out this year.
I have said nothing. What would you say, Brandon?
I said I'm gonna believe in the chance of a Switch coming out this year until like August or September.
I just want to point out we keep talking about how we trust these insiders, the ones we decide. Like there are some that no, they're not insiders. I trust
nobody on timing.
Right, but in terms of content, we believe. But in terms of timing, there's been a consistent track record of being wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
If anything, they say a date, I'm like, that's not happening.
Not with Directs, though. With Directs, we've been pretty good. It's been pretty good. But in terms of, like, content, it's been pretty hit and miss. In terms of timing of content. The content's been spot on, but the timing of content has been hit or miss. So with that in mind, something has to happen the second half of the year. They can't just be like, all right, let's just not do anything. So,
I mean, I do think we're in that window where like discussions about next gen hardware aren't ridiculous anymore. We've had people talking about the Switch 2 for like 3 years. Yeah. 3 years ago, that's ridiculous. Now here in 2023, I think we're getting to that point where like, okay, we can have legitimate conversations and legitimate speculation about next gen hardware. And with any transition to next gen hardware, software is gonna kind of like die down a little bit as they prepare for the push for the next thing. So is that what's happening the second half of this year? I don't know. Because one thing that stood out to me about the Direct, remember in the tweet prior to the Direct, they're like, this is going to mostly focus on games in the first half of 23. And so I was like, okay, they'll at least announce something in the second half, or maybe even in 2024. They left it open to do that. And then they didn't. They just they stuck to the first half of 2023. So I'm like, okay.
The exception was Pikmin kind of 4.
Yeah, I was like, okay, that's kind of weird, but okay. So I don't know. Why have they not teased anything for the second half? It's hard to say, but it could be because they're getting ready to transition and they're just not really ready to talk about it yet.
Yeah. I do think we are seeing signs, right? I do think that Tears of the Kingdom being $70. I think the Game Boy stuff coming out now. I do think these are all subtle signs that we are seeing a transition. Now, does that transition mean Switch 2 at the end of this year? Not necessarily. So I'm not saying that's exactly what's happening, but I do think we are seeing that transition. I wouldn't be surprised if we see maybe a price drop in the second half of the year. I think we could see something like that.
I think we'll see a price drop when they announce the next system.
Maybe.
I don't think they need to do it until then.
It just depends on sales of the system. If the system ever stops selling, then yeah, maybe they'll think about it. But until then, they're not.
I
don't think they're gonna do a fully reaction, because I think they're gonna want to do the sales drop, I think they're gonna want to drop the price before
they want to anticipate.
They notice a tank,
Yeah. I mean, by now in most systems life cycle, they've already dropped $50 a year or two ago.
Yeah, I mean, at this point,
there's also usually a pro system out there too.
100 or more.
Yeah.
I mean, PS4s and stuff, you used to be looking for I mean, nowadays it's irrelevant, but back before the PS5 dropped, even when the Switch was first coming out, you could get PS4s for $200.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I just think it's very interesting. I'm not saying Switch is coming out this year, but what I am saying is that we don't know what Nintendo's doing for the second half, and that's kind of exciting. Like that mystery, that to me has me really curious, right? We do have somewhat of an understanding, though. I don't want to like overstate the mystery because there is some things we know about. We know that we just talked about Xenoblade Wave 4, like that's coming out second half of the year. Splatoon Wave 2, like the final wave of that's coming out. And these both are going to be like actual like single player campaigns that are going to offer some legitimate content. So yeah, that's something. Now granted, it's just DLC, but I mean, if it's Xenoblade DLC, it may have its own physical release. So it's going to be kind of like at least like a 20 to 30 hour campaign, maybe even a little longer. So, you know, there's at least that. What else? I bet you there's going to be a Pokemon spinoff. It's gonna be at least
there's probably gonna be Pokemon DLC.
Yeah, Scarlet and Violet DLC as well. So
there's a new mainline Pokemon game. Is that annual? Or is that like biannual?
It's mostly annual, but after a new generation, what they do is DLC, at least based off Sword and Shield. So the expectation is
they usually do like the third versions.
Yeah, they used to do third versions. Now we're assuming they're gonna do DLC.
Gotcha.
One moment.
And a big patch to fix all those bugs too, right, guys?
Well, they already have plenty of bug
Otherwise,
Pokemon.
I'm not buying it.
I wouldn't mind if they were to add more bug Pokemon.
No, I actually hope they don't fix the bugs. I like the spinning head NPCs too much.
It's charming. It's very charming. Yeah, I actually was able to like glitch in and like run underground the entire like map and go through mountains and stuff.
Yeah, I love their Pokemon hiding behind the walls that you can't even interact with.
That's kind of stupid.
Great.
Yeah. Showcash 87. Can't wait for Rexus to state in the DLC he's looking for his daughter. What if he's got 3 of them? Or 3 kids?
And they're like, which one, Rex?
What if that's like a side quest?
It comes up. I'm looking for my wife. Which one?
Yeah, like one of the quests is like, so for Shulk it'll be to find like gear parts to like build like a car or something because he's a tech head, and then for Rex it's gonna be about finding his children because he lost them. Yeah, that's gonna be kind of funny. But anyway, yeah, I just think it's gonna be interesting to see how Nintendo handles the second half of the year. I'm anticipating that we will have maybe a June Direct, so we'll know. They'll start to give us details about things. That all said, though, let's now transition to the big boy, Tears of the Kingdom. It's coming out this May. We finally got a trailer. Brandon, I distinctly remember you saying that you were unimpressed by the latest trailer. What is wrong with you?
Better term might have been underwhelmed.
Underwhelmed.
I'm slightly in the same camp, Brandon, but definitely, yeah, you go first.
How do I? I wanted to see story. I wanted to have somebody come in and be like, actually explain any of the things I'm looking at. I wanted to feel like, because I know the game's not going to feel like DLC. I know it's going to be great. It's going to have a lot of new content. They have not proven to me that. I have not seen that. I believe it's there. I believe the content is there. But we have not seen it. We have seen little glimpses, little hints here and there. This is just like a slightly extended trailer of the same kind of trailers we've been getting the whole damn time since 2019. We still don't know what the heck this game really is. Like,
Brandon, you should have watched my trailer analysis. I tell you all about the trailer. It's a 38-minute breakdown.
Yeah, but it's still like the main thing that sets this apart from Tears of the Kingdom or from Breath of the Wild is not known. Like, I don't get that sense that this is a completely new game. Like, we see some new features, but yeah. I wanted that trailer that really made me feel like this is a legitimate new game.
Yeah, I'd say the first couple of trailers, I was definitely in that boat. I'm like, all right, these are mostly story focused. They're kind of like more teaser trailers, a couple of clips of gameplay here and there. That's cool, but nothing, super revealing. But I was okay with them. Like, these are the early trailers. We're definitely going to get more, and we're probably going to get a big old blowout, closer to release and all that good stuff. So I was fine waiting. Third trailer comes out, and at this point, I'm like searching for a couple of things, a handful of things. One, like, is the weapon breaking system still going to be in there? show me a blacksmith, show me a weaponsmith, or maybe Link
Yeah.
has an item that can repair a weapon or something. I like the weapon breaking, by the way, but I know a lot of people
Yes,
didn't.
yes.
So,
We
you know,
do
show me
have
something
crafting.
to
We've
answer
seen
that.
crafting though, not for weapons yet, but we've seen crafting for vehicles, which is pretty crazy. So
Yes, well, there is
That
some
is
weapon
cool.
crafting, allegedly. But
The
I'll talk about
vehicles
that.
thing does
Yeah.
feel like it could have just been DLC though.
So I want them to answer that. I want them to find out, are we getting legacy dungeons, or are we doing kind of the, the what the heck they call them, the beasts?
the divine
again.
beasts, yeah.
Are we doing the shrine thing, or are we kind of condensing them into bigger legacy dungeons? And give me enemy variety. That was like the three big things that I really have been waiting to have answered. And we did get enemy variety.
Yeah,
A
we
lot
got
of
in
that
this
in
trailer.
variety.
We
Some-
got great enemy variety. We got like boss bokoblins, we got those flying creatures, and we got, most notably, the Redeads appear to be back.
Yeah.
And their design is really cool. Their
Yeah.
mouth
They got, like,
opens at the bottom,
mandibles.
and they like bend all the way backwards when they scream. Can't wait to hear
Yeah.
what they sound like.
Got
So we got the
Gleeok,
enemy variety.
three-headed
Terrifying,
flaming
sure.
dragon.
Yeah, from
Yeah.
Zelda 1, potentially, maybe?
Yeah, we also
at
got
least an
that
Easter
golem
egg.
creature. I wonder if it's if the golem creature is a nod to like the fan. I have to double check, but I remember there was a boss that was kind of like a golem in Phantom Hourglass. I have to double check, but there's a giant
So-
golem. There's
Yeah.
also one of the press shots shows another divine dragon in the sky. Clearly,
Yes.
we theorized that there were divine dragons in the sky. We now know for a fact they are. It may be just like a discolored Nadra, or it's a fourth divine dragon. Maybe more.
Yeah, and as far as like new mechanics, I mean, we've seen like the time rewind thing. We've seen like a flame shield and the cannon
That's pretty
weapon.
cool.
It looks straight out of Monster Hunter. Like the way
Yeah.
he swings it
Yeah.
down, I'm like, oh my god, it's a great sword right there.
Yeah. Looks
And
cool.
then the vehicles and the crafting, because
yeah, some
Andre,
kind
I don't know if you
replacement for
noticed.
the magnesis too.
yes, yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's right. You saw him picking up a wheel like out of a lake and
Well,
stuff.
hold on.
Um,
little bong.
Sorry to interrupt, but I got a couple super chats here, and one of them is like kind of super relevant. So
Okay.
one Taker 610. I have no doubt now that Dark Nuts are also back. Thank you for the super chat, buddy. I would love to see Dark Nuts because that can maybe suggest like better, more
Please.
intense combat.
Let's see,
we're-
did we see Dark Knight?
No, not yet.
No,
Nah.
no.
Okay.
No,
but
we haven't seen any
I'm hoping,
of
fingers
those like
crossed.
night-looking dice, but it's what Brian Doe said that has me. I saw someone mention it earlier. I haven't gone around to it, but I think we should talk about it now. Thank you also for the super chat, Brian Doe. Brian says shrines are verified within a leak of a survey. I think was it Spheromancer who asked me about a survey earlier as well. Yeah, that's Spheromancer.
It's
Chat, did they
not-
talk about the DOK survey yet? I haven't seen the survey. Where do I find the
I've seen
survey?
a screenshot of part of it on Twitter.
You have it?
No,
Excuse me.
I just saw it at some point, and it wasn't the full thing. It was just like
Oh,
one or
God.
two of the
Bless-
questions,
Excuse me, guys. Thank you.
and then like an excerpt.
Let me see if I need to see this. Yeah, this could be new information. So
There was a question. One of them was asking if they thought it was going to be the best story in all of Zelda or something like that,
and what
like
did
the
they say?
best in the series.
What did they say?
They were asking like if they thought it was gonna have the best atmosphere in the
Okay.
series.
Nintendo survey hints at Zelda Tears of the Kingdom details. All right. Where is it? Is it
Apparently,
this
Nate
image?
the Hate made a video about it, according to the chat.
Oh. A new game called The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom will be released in May 2020 for Nintendo Switch. It is the sequel to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Have you heard of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom? Okay, stupid. Here are some statements about The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Having watched the video, what do you think about each of these statements? It will be much bigger than The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It will be better than The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Here are some features from Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Please imagine that you can choose which features should also appear in the sequel, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Which features would you most like to include? Collect and manage weapons, armor, and resources. So these are things that already existed, so I don't see all this new information yet. Play for hundreds of hours in order to enjoy that. This is all new, see how the environment reacts realistically to your actions, follow your own path, enjoy the unique art style, use ancient technology. This is, that's all basic stuff. Okay, there's some answers here. It will include new and interesting ways to interact with the world compared to Legend of Breath of the Wild. I am certain this is true. It will have the best story atmosphere of any game in the series. They didn't say anything.
That's the question.
Which features sound most interesting to you? Here are some new features. Okay, all right. Here's something interesting. Here are some new features from the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Which features sound most interesting to you? Battle against new types of enemies, both large and small. We've already seen that. Explore completely new areas. Example, islands floating in the sky. We already knew that. Build and ride new types of vehicles. We now know that. Rediscover the land of Hyrule and see how old locations have changed. That's very surmisable. Use new abilities to manipulate your surroundings and interact with objects. We've seen that already. Experience the dark and thrilling atmosphere. We've seen that already. Follow a new and engrossing story set in the land of Hyrule. Well, okay, we sort of seen this, but talking about it as a new and engrossing story, also considering the previous question asking about the story, I mean, it may be the case that they may want to know if people think of this as like a big deal story, right? So maybe there was somewhat of an effort there, or a note that's like, hey, we try to have a better story this time. But there's a few more things here I'm going to read. Do you want to discover a vast open world filled with wonder and surprise? In The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, you have the freedom to explore a newly transformed land of Hyrule, visit diverse environments from the previous game, and see who inhabits them now. Or take to the skies and discover an array of new and extraordinary islands that float above. Okay, alright, here's another one where they actually answer something. Do you want to experience an epic story of good versus evil? In Tears of the Kingdom, you embark on a grand adventure that pits Link and Zelda against a dangerous force. Your loyalty to each other will prevail in a story that occurs Embark on a grand adventure that pits Link and Zelda against a dangerous force. Your loyalty to each other will prevail in a story that occurs after the events of the previous game. You will encounter many thrills and fears on your quest to save the land of Hyrule. How do you like it? I like it a lot, apparently. I mean, it doesn't mean she's playable. I mean, she could be...
I think it confirms she's not dead.
Well,
Some people have been thinking she's dead. Like, I don't think any... Like, obviously that was not going to happen.
She could be
but
dead.
At least it's confirmed.
In Spirit Tracks, she's dead, but she's
That's
also
true.
still a main
Be
character.
dead that way.
She's dead, but she still helps you throughout the entire game. So, you know,
Not true.
like she
I've
could...
seen speculation. There's one character that grabs Link's hand in the trailer. That's the goddess Hylia or Hylia.
Yeah.
And that maybe Zelda dies and then ascends into
Right, becomes
Hylia
or
status.
something,
You know,
or
I
like
don't
they
know.
fuse or
It's all speculation, but
right. Yeah.
I've seen it.
We do know that the voice actress is the same voice actress for Zelda, right? And we hear Zelda talk twice, and both times it doesn't sound like she's being attacked by malice from the beginning of the game. So you presume those voice lines about Ganondorf happen after they fight Ganondorf. So somehow her existence is still kind of known afterwards, unless Hylia has the same voice as Zelda. I mean, that's possible. But we still don't know what happens to Zelda. It's still a mystery. Anyways, there's a couple more things here. Do you want to unlock your creativity and imagination? In Tears of the Kingdom, you will discover power to solve puzzles and quest your way. Experiment with many materials, weapons, and other items that you find and collect, some of which are unique to this game. With your new abilities, you will master your surroundings and can achieve anything. There's still nothing crazy. Before the game's early release, which of the following, if any, would you like to do? Learn more about the game. Learn how it compares to the previous game. Watch a recap of the story. Avoid spoil. Okay, it's not even worth reading. Before the game's release, which aspects would you like to know more about? Customization options, puzzle shrines, environment, advanced tips and tricks, enemies, overall size of the game, abilities, stories and characters, beginner's guide, quests, weapons. I'll say that all of them are checked in this image. So yeah, I don't know if
think there's any real information here.
Yeah.
That's what. Didn't they say confirm shrines? I haven't heard a single mention of shrines or a confirmation of shrines so far. Is that later in this?
I mean, it says shrines and puzzles in the survey there at the end. So is that what you guys mean by it confirming that there are shrines? Yeah, I mean, I don't.
Maybe.
I
wouldn't
still.
put.
Yeah,
Yeah, I wouldn't put like that much stock into it. Maybe,
Maybe.
but also maybe not.
I think all it says is that there's going to be all it really suggests is that there is an expectation by the marketing team that the game will have an equivalent to Shrines.
Yeah.
And I think actually, if you want my
Probably
opinion on
will.
that, I think people might be looking for like an exact comparison to Shrines. Like, oh, okay, so there were like shrines that teleported you elsewhere or an elevator elsewhere, and they want to find like, Zonai doors that lead you to another realm where there's a puzzle. We have seen like what do they call them, like the Torii gates. So it's possible maybe the Torii gates, you go through them, they lead to some of these environments where you have puzzles like that, kind of like the shrines. But also, I'm completely okay with the idea that maybe literally the islands themselves are the shrine replacements. Like, there's no portals.
Yeah.
It's like the shrine itself is the puzzle. It's all crazy environmental puzzles. And if anything that this trailer accomplished, I would say, is if you look at it, right, there's like tons of weird shapes in the sky. We saw giant balls and like curves and semicircles and all sorts of weird shapes. And we see some footage where Link is doing some weird puzzling stuff on the islands and a boss fight on an island. So maybe what the islands are is just that. They're like they're basically the replacement for shrines, but they're not literally shrines. They're just islands in the sky that have a whole bunch of puzzles and challenges. And that's what it is.
Very possible. Very possible, and you kind of maybe bounce up and higher as you go. Possibly.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen how high it
Yeah.
goes. But I realized I
The
cut you
shrines
off
have
earlier
the
with the tunes, by the way.
Oh, no.
So I wanted to give you the floor back because you were making a point. I was like, hold on, new information. So
breaking news.
yeah,
No, yeah. I think like one of the things that stood out the most in this trailer and surprised probably like 100% of people was the whole vehicle thing. And it sounds like it's fully customizable, almost to the sense of like if you can imagine it, you can make it, kind of a shtick. That's the energy that I think I'm getting from it, at least. Same goes for some of the weapons. Like I know that cannon thing that he kind of swings over his shoulder. There's an emblem on the bottom of the cannon that is the same emblem that's on the vehicles. So like kind of maybe you can customize the weapons themselves too.
So in the I think it was a previous trailer that shows like this. It was actually the second teaser trailer. It's weird how they've kind of marketed them. So the first two trailers are not called the trailer; their names are teaser, right? So you got teaser from E3 2019, teaser from 2021, then trailer 1, which we got the last direct, and now we have trailer 2, even though it's trailer 4. And there's like that 7 seconds with Link and his broken sword, so that's everything. But in teaser 2, they show that green, like kind of weird Armos golem thing. It has that same emblem.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know, they're all connected to the Sky Islands in some way, shape, or form. But what I get from this is we touched a little bit on it earlier with Breath of the Wild. Like with the flexible physics engine that was in that game, the possibilities were like endless. You were seeing clips from 2 or 3 years after the game came out of people like one-shotting Lynels with crazy physics, shield surfing, all of the Sheikah Slate abilities, and the plethora of weapons they have. They're just like comboing the hell out of this Lynel, and then they're flying across the map on their shield to like the next area. They're just doing crazy things, absolutely breaking the game. So now you give those people the ability to build all kinds of vehicles and potentially weapons. We might be seeing some of the most creative and crazy, like game-breaking clips from Tears of the Kingdom that we never even thought possible, like after watching Breath of the Wild. So
they're really leaning into the sandbox nature of the original game.
They're gonna go nuts with that. But other questions I have is, what vehicles have we not seen? And can we mount weapons on these vehicles? Are we gonna have boss fights on vehicles? Are we gonna be like driving this thing between like a giant's legs and like shooting up at its crotch to take it down or something? I don't know, but the possibilities are very exciting, and I do honestly. What's that?
Potentially endless.
Potentially endless. And unfortunately, guys, I do have to step out here in just a few minutes. But I do want to leave with at least one more comment here. And I'm like 90% joking when I say this, but just in case it happens, I want it to be like documented that I'm one of the first people to ever suggest this. I'm excited for that part in Tears of the Kingdom when all of Link's vehicles combine Power Rangers Megazord style, and we get a giant mech battle with a Dark Beast Ganondorf, you know, even Evangelion style. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just throwing it out there again, like 90% joking, but if it happens, you heard it here first.
So, you know, it's interesting, right? When you gotta go, just let me know. We're close to the end, by the way, so we're not too far off. But when you gotta go, just let me know. But it's interesting though, because they are introducing what appears to be crafting, at least with vehicles. And I think something that's fascinating though is that when we take a look at Breath of the Wild, we know that they tried to create systems that allowed for a lot of options, which is what led to the vast amount of crazy things we saw with people playing the game, right? Because they were based off systems, there were basically simple actions that could lead to a multitude of things that could occur, right? Could layer upon each other. So by creating this crafting system, how much control restrictions will they place on it?
Yeah. That's the question.
And that is the question. And this thing is a concern that I think is perhaps valid for Tears of the Kingdom, or at least somewhat valid, is that will Tears of the Kingdom feel as free as Breath of the Wild? Or will there be as many ways to sort of take advantage of the physics and come up with these crazy ideas they did in Breath of the Wild? Will they be able to build upon that and offer so many different options that it becomes crazy? Or are they going to be more restrictive? And while there will be a lot of cool, fun things to do, regardless, will it lead to as much crazy experimentation where people are coming with all these crazy ways to do things? And that we're going to have to wait and see how they do it. But I want to imagine that they understood what made Breath of the Wild so great, and that they will continue to build upon that. So hopefully we do get your giant Evangelion mech things, but I also feel like that might break the game. Yeah.
That would break the internet.
Yeah. Maybe you can only maybe how the way they control is that maybe you have like, so you know how like there was an air balloon, so we could, apparently I think we can even create air balloons, which is crazy. Which actually seems like actually, is it crazy though? Because it feels like all these ideas of building these crafts are just based off the crazy sort of exploits people came up with in Breath of the Wild, like using the Octorok balloons to fly really high. Like you would like get a piece of metal or wood, like, hey, I'm gonna fly to the sky, baby. This is my craft. Or you stack the mine carts on top of each other and use magnesis to trick the system.
Right.
Creating the flying carts, creating the air balloons are just better versions of that. So it looks like they saw that and they're trying to like make it facilitate that more. But on some of them, we see like this green like substance, like it almost looks like a Laffy Taffy like glue thing. Maybe that's based off how much Zone magic you have. Maybe the limitation is how much of that you can use at a time. So depending on how much you have of that, maybe that's how they restrict it. So you can do whatever you can within however much you can stick with that glue Laffy Taffy substance.
It would make mechanical sense for them to limit the player in some kind of way, you know. And so if they do, and I'm not going to be upset, it would just make more. It makes sense, but
I'm actually be mostly limited just by the pieces that you have access to, because he had to go fish this wheel out of a bog, so it's not like he really has access to unlimited amounts of.
Yeah, it seems like you just find them laying around the world, and you just kind of like, yep, I'll take this. I'll take that.
There also seems to be some kind of like battery on the car, at least that.
Yeah.
You see, so maybe they need to be powered, but the flying one doesn't seem to have that same thing, so maybe, I don't know how it's powered, maybe it's powered differently.
Yeah.
I've seen speculation that's not a battery, that's actually cargo that you're trying to transport
That
for like that
could
quest
definitely that could definitely be it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I got another super chat here for Taker610. Gaming Sling said Legend of Zelda nuts and bolts. It does give some nuts and bolts vibes. Yeah,
it's such a strange idea. It's just so out of nowhere, isn't it?
In general, by the way,
I think this is an evolution of all the crazy stuff that people did in Breath of the Wild, but also the Master Cycle Zero.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, the Master Cycle Zero had fuel, so I imagine like these will be fuel, even if that's not a battery on the cars. As we speculate, it might not be.
There's gotta be
Yeah,
some
I
sort
think
of
they'll be
limitation.
fueled in some way because I don't think they're gonna let you just be able to go anywhere constantly,
Right.
like with no restriction.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, yeah, guys, I do gotta bounce out of here.
totally good, man.
Uh,
Thanks for coming on, guys. Make sure to subscribe to Lunatunes. His channel is linked in the description below. Had a good time, buddy. I hope to speak to you soon.
Absolutely, we'll have to do it again sometime.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. Have a good
Peace.
one. Bye.
See you, dude.
All right. So we are relatively near the end of the discussion, so it's all good. But yeah, Brandon, I know there was a point you were make earlier too, right? Because I cut off Lunatune, so I want to give him a chance, but I cut you off in order to give him a chance. So do you remember where you're getting at earlier?
I mean, if you could remind me what we were talking about at the time, I could probably remember.
Well, so we were talking about the survey and how there was nothing from it. Basically, I mean, maybe confirmation of shrines.
Oh, I was gonna say is one benefit of like the shrines in terms of just gameplay in general is that they're closed off. Like you can't get to anywhere except the shrine. It's in an area where like you can't climb on anything. The rules of the overworld don't necessarily apply to like the rules of a shrine. In that way you can do different puzzles in different ways. Whereas if you have like overworld stuff, it might be a lot harder to restrict the player and make sure that they stick to the puzzle as designed. So I do think even if the islands have like a bunch of puzzles on them, I do think we could use some sort of like closed area where you go to do puzzles as well for those more different experiences, because I don't think you can do all of those types of experiences in an open air environment where you can just go anywhere, because I'm sure you'll be able to break them like way too easily. Especially if you can build flying devices. You can't have puzzles where you have to get to an area because like you can just fly there unless you have some kind of like thing that makes sure you cannot get there. It would definitely change the way they would have to design the puzzles.
Maybe it could be like, I don't know, like maybe there's just enemies that
I think they could just do
break your
both.
stuff. I mean, if you have a fuel limitation, you have a fuel limitation, right? So there's a few different ways you can go about it. Yes. Apparently, Spearman just said scroll up. They did mention dungeons in the survey. I read through what I thought was a whole survey.
Yeah, I don't think the word dungeon necessarily means like traditional dungeons though, because I think the divine beasts are considered dungeons in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So it doesn't really like there were dungeons in Breath of the Wild. Like, I think, you know, like what we're sort of hoping for are a different type of dungeon, and we don't know what it's going to be yet. I think my personal biggest concern, it's not even really a concern, but I think one of my bigger gripes with Breath of the Wild, beyond just the end boss being a little too easy, is that the boss variety and just like the divine beasts not feeling too different from each other. I think that's something that with Tears of the Kingdom is probably going to be rectified, just because they're probably going to have more time to vary up designs and enemies and bosses and challenges, just because they're kind of building upon Breath of the Wild already. So
yeah, I mean that's kind of the
really
benefits of having a sequel. You don't have to focus on building an entirely new landscape. There's definitely new areas, you change up stuff, but you have all that time, or most of your development time is spent like polishing, adding content, making sure the content is really good and fun, and just like putting things into the game to do, and diversifying things and making sure everything feels unique, so that it can basically have a whole development cycle of that, or you know, a significant more chunk of development time set to that. Whereas with a completely unique game where they have to think about everything from scratch with a whole new art cell and everything, then they don't get that benefit. So I'm sure that this one's going to feel a lot more content rich, because Breath of the Wild had great content, but a lot of it felt very samey. Whereas I feel like this is going to feel like it's going to have a lot more unique things to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to take another look at the survey. You know, if you want me to look deep into it, I think the survey suggests that Zelda will have a significant role in the story, at least. Not maybe not with gameplay, but with the story. And that they do expect the story in Tears of the Kingdom to be more impressive than Breath of the Wild's. And they expect that this, to Brandon, to your point, it's going to be a very content-rich game. That all I kind of agree with. I don't.
I'll tell you one thing about the survey. They're with how tight-lipped they've been about the game. They're not about to reveal features and a survey they're sending to people in email.
Yeah. Brian Doe with another super chat. Thank you very much for the super chat, Brian. Says these parts can be connected to the expanded Terry Town. Yeah, I mean, you know, we're seeing crafting here that could extend to more Terry Town like stuff to do, right? Like maybe creating big vehicles so you can carry materials for another town area. Like that's a possibility.
Gotta carry a whole house.
Yeah. A guy you don't know. I understand that Tears of the Kingdom is greatly expanding upon Breath of the Wild in various ways, but that's typical for most sequels. If this wasn't a Zelda game, would it still deserve a $70 price tag? I don't know. Well,
I don't think we can say.
We don't.
We don't really have much of a clue at this point.
You know, I'll also say that with most $70 games, they usually do a good job of showing off a lot of the game. Like we haven't even had like a gameplay demonstration yet. So you know, it is
True.
It is kind of weird that, you know, we have this huge $70 game that's less than 3 months away, and we don't even have a gameplay demonstration. Granted, I'm not going to complain because, you know, last week they gave us a lot of information. It was a lot of information, and if they continue to start giving us more and more information over the coming weeks, then, you know, we're going to continue to learn about this game. So,
you know, I am going to complain a little bit, just a little bit. I want them to show more. Just do it. I mean, I said earlier, I was underwhelmed by this trailer. I stand by that. I think they could have released a better trailer than what they did. I think what they showed was cool, but they could have shown a lot more, and they could have shown more more substance to the things that they showed. I think some of the things they showed was pretty big. I think the biggest thing they showed was obviously the vehicle stuff, and then Ganondorf's voice. But other than that, most of it was just like very small details. I really think they really needed a heavy hitter trailer. They needed a trailer like the January 2017 trailer. That's the kind of level we need. We need something that blows our socks off. And we didn't get that. And I have a feeling, you know, I'm not going to be upset for too long, because I assume next month or the month after we're going to get a big direct for Zelda, because there's no way they're not going to show us a bunch more for this game before it comes out. But I kind of don't feel like they're going to drip feed us games until then. I don't think they're going to drip feed us more information about the game until then. I don't expect to start seeing like Twitter updates about new content in Tears of the Kingdom anytime soon, to be honest.
I don't know.
I don't think it's time yet. Not with that trailer.
I'll say that Nintendo's Twitter did put Tears of the Kingdom as its banner.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if it really means much, but they did.
I don't know.
So, Brian Doe added me. So I haven't heard anything about Korok Flower that was in the latest trailer. They are back. I heard someone say that. I gotta look at it frame by frame. I don't think I noticed that.
I've seen it, but it wasn't like
it's like
clearly the same. But it was like, oh yeah, I can definitely see that.
Korok Flower
almost
and Tears of the Kingdom. Maybe someone singled it out in an image that it makes.
I doubt that they're going to just have Korok seeds again. Like, I don't think they're just gonna be like, guys, there's more Korok seed locations. Well, let's go.
I did see on one of the Sky Islands though, there was like a piece of rope hanging from this stone structure that had like a jar, which could be like one of the jars you break for one of the Korok puzzles. I mean, I'm not going to be too excited about Korok puzzles again.
Yeah. I didn't care about them in Breath of the Wild that much.
don't get me wrong. Like, yeah, I mean, I never collected all the Korok seeds. I liked collecting them; they were fun to collect, but not enough for me to.
Honestly,
get
after
all
I
of them.
got like 300 or 400 of them, I just stopped. Even if I saw them, I just didn't do the puzzles. I was just tired of them.
The map is so big. In order to find everything, it just it's too grueling for me personally. No, I mean,
like, even when I
yeah.
did find them, I would just keep going because I just like didn't care anymore. Once I got enough inventory slots.
Mm-hmm. I've skipped them before. Think I'll come back. It's too big. World map's too big. So now that said, I'm not saying I don't want something that's similar to the Korok seeds challenges again. I just want it to be a little different. I don't want it to be straight up Koroks again, unless like the
I want
Korok.
less puzzles, more unique puzzles.
Interesting. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Because some of the puzzles were very similar. Yeah, very samey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Taker610 with another super chat. Thank you, Taker. Watch them announce a Zelda Direct for April 1st. What if? I doubt that. Not April 1st. Well,
Just going for it on April Fool's Day.
April
Let's
1st
go.
is a Saturday, so.
Yeah. Man, I want to see it next month, though.
Yeah, I do agree with you guys that we may have already seen evidence, or we may have already seen some dungeons, but we just don't know what they are yet. We don't know. Like, Nintendo would have to tell us, right? Like, we see this giant round structure in the sky.
Well, we have like no
That could be a
context
dungeon.
for hardly anything we see.
Yeah.
In the trailers.
Exactly. There's minimal context. Like, we know that the labyrinths are in the sky now, but
yeah, I remember I spotted that after we saw it, and we can clearly. I've seen people clearly see that. Yeah, those are like right above the locations there in the game. So it's clearly those mazes.
But with them being in the sky, that we still don't know how they're changed. We don't know if they change at all.
Yeah, how does that change? Because wouldn't it just be the same maze, but in the sky?
Well, it's in the sky though.
Yeah, but it's the same.
But it's in the sky.
But how is that any different?
Oh, it's in the sky.
No, but like, legitimately,
I'm sure,
how do you think they're gonna change it?
I'm sure it's gonna be different.
Yeah, but like,
I personally do not expect to see a shrine in there. I think the shrines are just gonna be gone. Maybe they could be like there may be a handful just to show like the past or something that are like destroyed.
Yeah, I think they'll have
like
broken. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something. Well, it depends on the reason why Sheikah technology is not there anymore. You know, like we still don't know why the Sheikah towers aren't there.
We do know
there's
some Sheikah technology because we see it in the trailer, but it seems to be like sort of contained, and it feels like it's from the lab actually. Maybe.
Probably.
Yeah. Maybe even that's where you craft things. Maybe those guardian arms are used to like build stuff potentially. Maybe.
Yeah, they did show those arms for like seemingly no reason.
Yeah, and it seemed like a comical scene too. So it didn't seem like
the arms. It seemed like Link was scared, but like there wasn't actually any danger.
Right. Exactly. So I feel like it could be a thing where it's like he's speaking to a funny character, maybe one of the professors or scientists. Yeah. Man, there's honestly a lot of different things I want to kind of dissect with Tears of the Kingdom. Like, there are so many ways of traversal. The whole Zelda situation is still a mystery. We're very unsure of how that's handled. We did get voice acting for Ganondorf. We finally heard his voice.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah. How'd you feel about it?
It was good.
Yeah,
I thought it was really good. I thought
it's grown
the
on
first
me.
part. Yeah, the very first second or two when he started talking, I was kind of like, "Ooh, that's not what I was expecting." But as he goes on, like I felt more and more into it, and the way he ends, like the last sentence he says, I forget exactly what he says. It was like kill all of them or something like that. That the way he ends that sounds really good.
I agree. It was.
Dude, I saw somebody on Twitter was like, the French version of this game sounds so good with Ganondorf, and I listened to it.
Really feel the same way.
I gotta be honest, I don't know if if maybe I just can't take the French accent seriously, but I was laughing. I was like, the way he was pronouncing things was just so
Yeah. I'll say
stereotypical French.
now there is something that I think that should be said. While I'm not against the voice, I've grown on, and I think that last line was pretty good. I do feel currently, with the information we've seen so far of Ganondorf, it feels like a little bit of a mismatch. Just for me personally, I feel like I look at that mummy thing and I'm like, that voice doesn't sound like it's coming from a mummy.
I don't think that voice is coming from the mummy.
Yeah, I think Ganondorf goes through some sort of transformation, or it's a flat, like, yeah, either Ganondorf transforms,
he gets rehydrated for sure.
Yeah, or the voice's work is a flashback from when he used to be more normal.
I hope that's not true. I just want him to be normal in the now. Screw flashbacks,
so.
Man. I don't want flashbacks. I want flash nows.
Yeah.
Flash
some people have suggested that the opening sequence of the game that I've been all excited about is maybe just told to us in bits and pieces through flashbacks.
No. They're not going to start the game in the... No, 100% that's not going to happen. Because that happens after Breath of the Wild. There's literally no reason to do that. Why would they start you off in the game all like, where you wake up and you're... What, are they going to wake you up in the sky and then just like you have flashbacks to something we already saw in the original trailers? Like, for something that happens after... This doesn't make any sense.
It would mimic
There's no
the
reason
beginning
to do that.
of Tears of the Kingdom.
Why would they just
I
purposely...
mean, Breath of the Wild.
Because the way they tell the story in Breath of the Wild, the biggest issue with it is the fact that it happened in the past. Why would they purposely take something that didn't happen way in the past and make it in the past? For no reason. And just ruin it. No, that's not going to happen.
I hope
I don't
not.
believe that for a second.
I hope not. But remember how hyped that Breath of the Wild trailer was back in January 2017? Most of that voice work was from the past.
Yeah, I know. But it made sense. Like, I could see it not being playable. But there was... The past is like a huge, long segment. This is like one small adventure. Like, the past in Breath of the Wild was like a whole long thing over the course of like... I'm not sure exactly the timeline, but it's kind of like weeks, months, maybe a year. I don't know. But a long time, It's way too long for you to play. That'd be a whole other game in and of itself. This is just like a small little area that has one event that happens. Why would that have to be in the past?
So, Spheromancer added me. Honestly, I think we start in an almost prologue type mission where we go off with Zelda Underground while everything is peaceful in Hyrule after Breath of the Wild, then it kicks off. So, my issue with this...
I think it's probably going to be cutscene.
Yeah, I'm inclined to think it's a cutscene too, just because in order to do that, it would have to be a linear path, linear gameplay to start the game. Yeah. Linear, restrictive gameplay that honestly wouldn't be too representative of most of your experience. So why would they do that to start the game? And also, I think
cutscenes. Yeah, there's been no hint of gameplay or even the environment looking like there's things to explore or do in it. It just looks like mostly a set path with like... I mean, there's areas around it, obviously, but it doesn't look like you're meant to go there, if that makes sense. Like, it doesn't look like it leads to more places. Like, I don't think maybe you explore that eventually, but I don't think you're going to, like, be dropped into the underground place and explore and have cutscenes happen to further explore. Also, there's just a ton of cutscenes happening constantly throughout the footage. So it'd be weird to set that up, because you'd be having cutscenes like every few feet you walk. It looks like, according to like how this trailer's set up. Yeah. It just doesn't make much sense.
I think maybe what makes the most sense is just have like a solid like 5-minute opening cutscene. Maybe 4 or something, but something that's a few minutes long. You can skip it if you want to. If you skip it, it opens up with Link waking up in a sky island, right, with his new hand. and then you're off to explore. Like you can do that if you want, but if you don't skip, the beginning game will have an opening cutscene, and that's what they do. They do it because it's about the story, right? Like, it's one of those things where yes, you can jump straight into the gameplay, but if you jump straight into the gameplay, then you can't tell the story. Not in the same way.
Yeah.
So, my vote is, or my bet is that it's gonna be a story. Like a story trait, like a cutscene in the beginning of the game. You know, the opening sequence. That's what I think. I think if it was like a linear path thing that you can kind of explore as you go, it wouldn't be the typical Breath of the Wild / Tears of the Kingdom gameplay. So that's where I'm kind of unsure. That's also why I'm unsure about the Zelda playable segments too, because that's how it would have to be as well. It would have to be limited gameplay. Now, I'm not saying I'm against it for sure, because it might be kind of cool to have, like, if it's like certain plot points, you have Zelda briefly playable just to kind of explore an environment and do some of her things. Like, if she has a Sheikah Slate, as we've seen from the art, she has a new version of a Sheikah Slate apparently. Maybe she is going to do some things with the gameplay. Maybe maybe
she has unique abilities.
Maybe she has unique abilities, or maybe she just has the old abilities. But, you know, they come up with special challenges that are just for her, and you only play them in brief moments throughout the game.
Very cool.
Like, yeah, maybe like if they're like brief moments, they're almost like mini puzzle challenges that happen when you reach events that are supposed to be kind of story related. Like, I could maybe see it, maybe, but I feel like starting the game with that might be a little weird unless you play as Zelda in the beginning. I don't know. I think it's possible, but my bet is that it's a cutscene to start things off. I got another super chat here from Sean Singer. Thank you very much for the super chat. Sean says, I think the sparkling in Hateno is more soul flames. What do you think about the theory that everyone in Hyrule is dead? I'd be pissed.
I don't agree with that.
I wouldn't be happy about that, because then who do you interact with? Also, we know that's not actually the case, because if you watched my trailer analysis, when in the very, and maybe you could argue otherwise, but I thought it was pretty clear because you saw a person with a ponytail. In the trailer at the end, when they show the logo, if you look to the left, there's like a little bit of a tent. There's someone standing right outside of it. There's an NPC there, it looks like. So, yes, to Mako's point, we've seen NPCs in the trailer. Yeah, I mean, it's possible it's not a person, but it looks like a person. So, I don't think everyone in Hyrule is dead. However, in the underground, we do see, like, little blue flame wisps that seem to be kind of like the wisps we see attributed to souls from Breath of the Wild and also Twilight Princess. So there may still be a sort of soul collection thing going on. And maybe the Korok seed replacement is souls. Maybe you collect souls, and you're helping to free spirits, and there's many... Maybe even a lot of people do die.
Because there seems to be a lot of them in a group.
Yeah. It could be tied to the malice, like maybe a whole bunch of malice, like, hit a whole bunch of people at once. So, yeah, I think that there are likely souls, and there's definitely going to be a lot of... I think there's going to be death. But I don't think literally everyone's dead, because that would probably lead to a boring game. I think something that people are excited to see in Tears of the Kingdom is more towns and better side quests.
I mean,
one of the things there's less towns and less side quests, I think people will be upset about that.
If you read the survey, I mean, it kind of debunks it, because it's talking about, like, one of the things that's fun about Tears of the Kingdom is seeing who lives in the places.
Yes, they do
like,
talk about
that you visit in Breath of the Wild. That would make no sense if everybody was dead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Sean brings up another good point in the chat. The NPCs could be ghosts. If everyone's a ghost, though, I don't know. I'm okay with there being some ghosts and side quests being with ghosts, but everyone should be dead. It's pretty grim. You know, something about Breath of the Wild that was cool, but also like, oh, only. It's like Breath of the Wild was cool because everything was destroyed. It was like a post-apocalyptic Hyrule. But there's these flashbacks from a time where everyone wasn't dead, and there were more towns and cities and villages. Like, it would be fun to get more of a taste of that. Like, we never even got to explore Castle Town as it was supposed to be. One of the values of Age of Calamity, by the way, is you can kind of do that too a little bit, but it's a Muso game. It's not really the same.
Yeah.
So I would like to see more towns and villages, but I will say that the trailer doesn't really show much to give me hope that there's a lot more towns and villages. They could still be there, but
Still think
that
there's just
crazy
so much
attack
they haven't
upon
shown
Hyrule
us.
is daunting. Yeah, there's
I
still
think
so
we
much
still
they can still
haven't
show.
seen like the trailer where we truly understand like what the game is even really going for.
The overview
So
trailer.
I feel like there's still a ton of like towns and things. I mean, we haven't even seen towns really. We've seen like tiny glimpse of towns. We haven't even like seen how they're changed. There's just so much we don't know. It's hard to even speculate still. I was hoping this trailer would be the trailer where we could really get some concrete information, be able to real hardcore speculate, but it's still mostly just like shots in the dark almost.
I don't
Unfortunate.
know. I feel like there's a lot of information to kind of sift through, but
No, there is, but
yeah.
it's like a lot of what that implies is hard to say.
there is still a lot of interpretation. I'll give you that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing.
Yeah. But yeah, with that I think you know, we can pretty much call it a night. You know, I'll give like another minute or two if anyone wants to put any final things in the chat. Brandon, is there anything you wanna get to before we call it a night?
Don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, here checking the chat. Brian, though everyone dies, and it's up to Link to revive and heal each part by removing the malice and reversing time. Repairing the world by removing the malice was an idea talked about by the devs. If there's time reversal to the point where people are revived or back to life, I can kind of see that. Maybe.
We haven't seen a ton of malice all
Yeah.
over the world, though.
Yeah.
We've seen less malice over the world than Breath of the Wild, actually.
Yeah. Brian Doe with the super chat. Thank you for an additional super chat there, Brian. Really appreciated. Check my @ I found a flower. So by @ I assume you mean
Or Twitter. Or, you mean like in the...
I thought you meant Twitter at
the
first.
chat?
I thought you tried to, but I don't.
It says he found it. Like, did he send you the picture of it
Right?
somewhere?
Yeah, like that's what I'm curious about. Check your @
You can send picture. You can, the @ would imply that it was in the chat, but obviously that's not possible.
or maybe Discord. Maybe. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't know where I'm supposed to check. I would love to see the image. Yeah, I would have to check the 4K upscale of it. It's not that I disagree with you. I just would need to take a look at it. I mean, let me see here. Tears of the Kingdom trailer. I'll check 153 real quick. Let's see. Okay. 153.
I mean, I've seen it. It looks like it.
It's right at the end there. Oh, yeah, I see it. It's right on top of the block. Yeah. Oh, and it pops up right at the end too. It like loads in. It might not be a Korok flower, but it is a plant. It is a plant that's similar to the Korok flower.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that. Well, it's been seen. I have observed it. It is there. It shows up on the block. Taker6 Anatomy. I wonder if the team feels bad about what they've done to Zelda after the ending they gave her in Breath of the Wild. I think if you want my honest take, well, maybe they're upset that they killed off Zelda. I think we're assuming that Zelda's dead. I don't think she's dead per se.
This is something they had to do. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Over here, like, gosh darn it, I'm so, we tried our best, guys, but Zelda just kept dying every time we made the game. She just kept dying. Like, I can't believe. Like, what?
We had so many different story configurations with our gameplay concept, but no matter how we did it, every time it just made the most sense to kill her off. I don't think that, even if she does die somehow, I still think somehow, some way, they're going to have some sort of positive message. It's not like, I don't think it's just going to be all doom and gloom and with no reprieve or hope or optimism at all. I don't see that. I think that the game is going to end on a positive, happy note somehow, some way. Because, I mean, here's the other thing. Breath of the Wild's already a somber game. And, it ends with this message of hope and restoration. To just turn that around and just make it a complete tragedy, and that being the end of the Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom cycle, that would be...
Could you imagine?
Yeah. Last question. Nintendo, kind of unrelated, but how do you put music in these podcasts? My friend and I want to record some podcasts, but I don't know the best way to put video game music in with us talking. So, this is a live stream, right? So, what I do is that I mean, there's honestly several ways you can do it during a live stream, during a broadcast. I'm doing it in a very, very, like, basic way where I just have multiple audio channels, and one of the audio I just have some edited music I put together in a loop, and I play that audio, and I have an audio channel that picks that up on my broadcasting software, right? But I'm pretty sure you can just put like straight up audio files to play straight up into OBS. However, if you're going to record something and it not being a live stream, then you can add in that music afterwards. So maybe if your friend is, kind of like how Brad and I are talking, you can chat through Discord. You can record that maybe through OBS. OBS is a great free software you can use to record that. And then after that, you would edit the video and you would put audio in the background. Now, my advice is to kind of think of music that isn't like super busy, right? Like, for example, like, even though I love to put Nintendo music in pretty much all my videos, and I do, I rarely use, say, for example, like F-Zero music. Why? Because F-Zero music's very rock, metal heavy. That goes under the busy category.
Very high energy, very busy.
Very high energy. I think it's too busy for chatting, discussing, usually. So I don't put it.
Overpowering.
Yeah, and also, you don't want it to be too loud either. That's the other thing. If the point of the conversation is the conversation, if the audio of the background music is overpowering that, it kind of ruins that. So you want it to be something that's a little quieter. So I'll say that depending on the song track, I don't know if this matters to you, but I usually use something that's called like a hard limiter, and I apply that, and I usually do like minus 33, so around that range. So if you want to play around with that, but I also recommend just research. You can look up this stuff. There are YouTube videos, there are articles on it. But if you have if there's any specific question you have, feel free to send me a message on Twitter or Discord. If I get a chance, I'll take a look. Can't guarantee I'll get to it immediately, but if I see it, I'll try and get to it. Nintendo. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I guess what I'm more asking is where you get the music from. Just playlists on YouTube. I do a lot of video editing and design and stuff. But thanks for the info. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Hard to get the music nowadays. 'Cause it's not on YouTube as much.
Yeah. Well, you know, you can use a lot of Nintendo music. They don't really copyright stuff as long as it's like, you know, there's background stuff. You can find those audio files if you have them. But shoot me a message on Twitter or Discord, and I'll try and send you in the right direction. But yeah, anyways, guys, that's all for now. Thank you all for listening and watching. Leave a like, it'd be super appreciated. And if you're new here, you could subscribe, maybe, you know. But anyways, that's all for now. We'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.
Bye, guys.